In a gloomy setting, the sky was as red as blood, resembling a horror movie backdrop. A man was pinned tightly to a pole, a gigantic blade deeply embedded in his chest. Fresh blood gushing out his life, gradually drifting towards its end. He raised his head, his eyes resolute, the corner of his mouth lifting into a nonchalant smile. Opposite him, a gigantic monster with a massive body and multiple arms wielding different weapons. How can anyone endure this? The monster's face was covered by a yellow cloth resembling a talisman for exorcism. It's unclear if it can see anything, only that one eye peeked out from behind the cloth. Behind it radiated a strange aura. One leg lifted high as if preparing to dance a grotesque samba. With its long, endless legs it charged towards him. The man remained motionless, his gaze sharp, indifferent to death. Then a thunderous explosion occurred that night, literally ignited. The one with Slevel powers, the hope of all humanity, was declared dead. What awaited humanity was only endless fear and despair. Thank you to the readers who cheered, trusted, and persevered to read this far. This is indeed the most correct decision in everyone's life. But it turns out that the previous scene was just a segment in a novel. A young man in shorts and a t-shirt lay stretched out on the bed, hands behind his head, sighing in disappointment. Yet another unfinished book. He lazily picked up his phone, opened the fan rankings. He had only one ID, his own, with a fan value of 9,999. He messaged, "Thank you, I am your only reader." After sending, he casually tossed the phone onto the bed, stood up, stepped outside humming a tune. He did not hear the strange noise coming from the phone. The world fusion began. The next day, the young man in a stylish uniform expression, in different hands, in pockets, confidently strode down the street. Suddenly, he stopped, noticing the noisy crowd gathering. He rubbed his cheek, muttering, "They say you can't buy a new house now. Looks like some corporation is causing trouble again." But upon closer inspection, he was startled. Before his eyes was an empty plot of land. The building that should have stood there had vanished. He looked around in panic. This was definitely the right place. But where did the building go? Looking down, Chin joined the crowd. He heard people buzzing. "A little more thank you, a little more thank you." Looking down at the empty space, a mysterious number was drawn on the ground. He thought to himself, what event is this? The crowd discussed, cursing the irresponsible real estate corporation. They're slow to build houses but quick to demolish them. And an agitated young man had to report, "I worked hard to make the down payment. I can't let it go to waste like this, my newlywed house." But amidst the chaos, he told himself, "This is none of my business, just ignore it." He walked away wondering, how can a building that wasn't even finished be destroyed in just one night? Is the construction quality really that bad now? He reached class 16. Wait, what school has classes up to 16? He opened the door and stepped inside. A shadow, as fast as a gorilla, rushed over it. Turned out to be his blonde friend, who hugged him tightly, rubbing against him excitedly. He leaned in closely and whispered, "Brother, listen to me, the apocalypse is coming." Turns out our male lead's name is Thung Din. He looked at his friend, speechless. Thung Din pushed his friend away, frowning. "You stayed up all night playing games again, didn't you?" The blonde friend made a face from being pushed, but quickly raised his phone, speaking assertively. "I'm serious, come on, look at these posts." The young man with blonde hair, his smile bright as sunlight, shared his phone with Thung Din, the screen overflowing with comments about the phenomenon from this morning. The speed at which rumors spread online has never disappointed anyone, mostly filled with outrage. "Hey, everyone who understands family. Who understands that my boyfriend bought a wedding house for me and then disappeared overnight? The Tao Dan group, everyone speak up. Tao Dan pay me for my sweat and tears." One person asked, "Brothers, do you really think one night can destroy an entire building?" The blonde friend crossed his arms, wearing a smug smile. "See, all over the country, just in one night, buildings suddenly disappeared. Do you really think that's a coincidence?" Thung Din scratched his head, his hair messy like a bird's nest, mumbling, "It must be a coincidence." His friend smiled mysteriously as if a prophet had just possessed him, leaned in and whispered, "Don't you think the current situation resembles the signs before monsters attack in novels?" That statement hit Thung Din like a hammer to the head. He reflected with a brain soaked in countless novels. Suddenly felt this situation was eerily familiar. No way seeing Thung Din pull out his phone. His friend immediately complained, "The apocalypse is here. Do you still want to read novels?" Paying attention, Thung Din opened the novel he had read, but only saw the line, "This work has been removed." His face stiffened, sweat beading on his forehead. He remembered the novel started with a series of mysterious events in the city where high-rise buildings disappeared without a trace. Moreover, the male lead's classmate even ran over to report the apocalypse is coming. This cannot be a mere coincidence. Is this real? Novels becoming reality. The apocalypse is here. Thung Din woke up immediately, grabbed his bag and rushed outside before things got worse. As a good student before skipping class, he turned back to ask his friend for help. "I'm taking sick leave." The blonde friend with a mind like a tough guy cried with snot and tears, excitedly shouted, "Thung Din, he actually skipped class. There's hope now. My best brother finally has hope. Don't worry, I will definitely help you take leave." As for Thung Din, he ran like he was being chased by a dog down the street. His mind working at full capacity, trying to remember the plot of the dull novel that no one bothered to read. The missing buildings were transported to a base that contained the teleportation of otherworldly monsters. If the novel becomes a reality, that base is the number 1 transfer. He rushed towards this plot of land this morning, only now noticing a huge number 1 in the middle of the yard. It really is the number 1 transfer, panting with his mouth wide open as if to expose his throat. Thung Din was almost exhausted. An old man kindly looked at him with concern and asked, "Young man, you were also deceived by the indifferent real estate, weren't you? Don't be too sad. You're still young." Thung Din forced a smile and replied, "Thank you for your kindness, but you placed it wrong. With both poverty and laziness like me, where would I get the money to buy a house?" He quickly returned to the main issue. According to the novel, this is the Thum Yuan transfer, but even when incomplete, no one can explain where this transfer came from. Thung Din used all his brainpower rummaging through his memory about the beginning of the plot in the novel. 1999, Thum Yuan area suddenly appeared scattered all over the country. For the first time, each Thum Yuan carries the number 0. Next, images of bizarre monsters, truly horrific fantasy appeared. Tonight, when the clock strikes exactly midnight, a series of creatures called Yuan species will rise from Thum Yuan. Not to mention these monsters are as diverse as the bacterial ecosystem in the Tolich River. The shapes of the Yuan species are outrageously strange, with their terror increasing, according to the Thum Yuan level from level 1 to level 10. Humanity can still use modern weapons to cope, but from level 11, the Yuan species undergoes horrifying transformations and conventional hot and cold weapons can hardly injure them. Then comes the scientific popularization. There are only 2 ways to defeat the Yuan species. One is to kill them to receive rewards from the mystical world's special weapons or powerful abilities. Only with this, humanity can have enough strength to confront the monsters. According to the novel, the first Yuan species at Thum Yuan, level 1, is a giant dog-like creature attacking with sharp teeth but moving slowly, making it easy to defeat. Thung Din rubbed his chin, resembling a detective calculating his next move. If so, I could try to take the first reward. He recalled the image of the pervert in the story, not wearing a shirt, only having a decent pair of pants. If I'm not mistaken, this reward is enough to enhance my body. After enhancing when facing Thum Yuan level 2, I will level up dramatically. While others still have to form teams, I will be able to solo level 3 Yuan species. Thinking about this, I felt very proud. Although I don't know what's happening. He shouted loudly in the street like a madman. If I can't run, then the only option left is to become stronger. Passers-by whispered about another madman. He had the golden hand. If he didn't take advantage of this opportunity, he would only end up eating scraps. He raced to the Dai Lang Nam grocery store, Kim Tan Tae. Upon arrival, why care about money? He decisively placed his order. Madam, I want to buy these things. The shop owner replied, all right, Thung. Quickly calculating what was needed for tonight's battle. Who would be foolish enough to fight monsters empty-handed? Just making them chew on it. The best way to take down Yuyin is to use a long weapon like a spear. I think just need to connect a few steel pipes together, tie a fruit knife to the end, and that's it, and these metal plates wrap around the body to make a simple armor for self-protection. Lost in thought, he didn't notice a schoolmate passing by. The bright pink hair stood out clearly. A party girl not afraid of the rain. It seems they not only go to the same school but also know each other. She exclaimed, Thung Din, look, he's skipping school. At that moment, the phone tucked under his arm vibrated violently. The screen showed these words, Dear Dad. As soon as he answered, the voice on the other end was like a level 12 hurricane. Luckily, she has real hair. Otherwise, her wig would have flown away. Daughter, when are you coming home? Dad has something important to discuss with you, she hurriedly replied. I know. Dad is waiting for you at home. Before leaving, she looked back at Thung Din once. Once she got back to her room, Thung Din fiddled with the pile of stuff just bought, getting ready to make weapons. Normally looking skinny in clothes, but when he took off his shirt, his body was quite fit. Next, he touched the homemade armor and remarked that it might be a bit uncomfortable, but better than nothing. He connected a few steel pipes and tied a knife to one end. Looking at the finished product, it looked just like a homemade spear. Holding the weapon in hand, he was ready. Thung Din exhaled, still feeling a bit tense, silently hoping everything would go smoothly. The city was lit up. The clock struck 23:40. He wandered alone through the streets, fully equipped, tightly gripping the homemade spear, and wearing a bright red cloak which was of no help other than being cumbersome. It was just for show. He glanced at his phone, looking around, but seeing no one. Gathering all his courage, he moved towards the area marked with the number 1. As he walked, he muttered to himself, 20 minutes left. I must achieve my first victory. Standing against the cold wind, he held his phone alone, waiting for the screen to show 23:59 divided by 55. The moment had come. He struck a cool pose and counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As soon as he finished speaking, the ground beneath him lit up. A bright red light and black tentacles rose up as if to pull people down to hell. From above, a circular formation appeared resembling a sorcerer's summoning ritual. The formation shot up bright red beams, staining the moon blood red not only where he stood, but throughout the city. Thousands of similar beams shot straight up into the sky. The scene looked like hell was about to descend. Thung Din couldn't help but be terrified witnessing this for the first time. From the void, a horned dog appeared, not just one, but a whole series of horns from head to tail. Upon seeing him, it drooled profusely. Thung Din immediately became alert. The fluttering cloak also looked quite cool. He thought to himself, that's definitely Yuyin the monster approaching, breathing out smoke, its eyes shining yellow like headlights. He calculated Yuyin Chung provided a quick attack. He just needed to dodge when it jumped and then stabbed straight at its waist to finish it off. He told himself, stay calm. If I weren't the main character, I would have run away a long time ago. Even the neighbor's dog couldn't compete, let alone this monster. The gaze of a person and a dog glared at each other, grinding their teeth. The dog drooling, the person sweating. Thung Din focused, waiting for the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. The dog charged forward, starting the battle. He widened his eyes, trying to keep up with its movements. Just kidding. Rushing in would be disastrous. As the monster weasel approached, as if to embrace him warmly, he dodged aside, swinging the spear, shouting loudly, die for me. A precise thrust piercing straight into the dog's belly. Tonight's horns have a dish of fake dog meat. With just one hit, the monster trembled, exhausted, and fell down. Thung Din, though a man, was already panting after just one blow, shouting, success, it's successful. The horned dog rolled to the ground, looking pitiful, as if it had just been knocked out. Looking at its embarrassed face, he thought to himself, oh no, even though I'm a bit dazed, I'm still sharp enough to realize something is off. Yuyin Chung should drop Yuyin Stone. But now there was no sign of the first kill reward. Realizing the trick, he smirked with a bright smile, like a toothpaste advertisement. Sitting down a distance from the monster, he spoke up, hey you sneaky guy, you're really cunning, but unfortunately playing dead is useless. I will calmly wait for you to really die. That provocation made the sleeping dog jump up in anger, shaking with rage. So upset it rolled over and actually died, even trying to howl proudly before vanishing, as if to maintain some dignity. His corpse disappeared, just like when it appeared, leaving behind 2 items. The system announced, "Congratulations, Human 01 has successfully defeated the first Yuan Chung." Earning the title of Lonely Soul, Thuong Din stared blankly confused, because it was the first time he saw the notification board. Looking at the reward, he joyfully shouted, "Got the first kill." The system asked if he wanted to activate the title of Lonely Soul. Without hesitation, he nodded to activate. Immediately, a lonely wolf within him seemed to awaken as soon as he activated it. He soared into the air, a wolf shadow effect appearing behind him, howling under the moonlight. Luckily, it didn't make a sound, or else the neighbors would have dragged out their slippers to scold him for shouting in the middle of the night. Although the wolf shadow was silent, Thuong Din still yelled for it. A stream of red-black aura enveloped him like a sphere and then gradually faded, leaving his body intact. The system announced, "Lonely Soul has activated effect. Body enhancement strength increased 5 times, hardness increased 10 times that of a human body. Effect 2, nerve reaction enhancement, doubling maximum reaction ability." He landed on the ground, clenched his fists, feeling the strength surging. Excited, it was truly the reward for the first kill. To test it out, he threw a punch down onto the road, turning a smooth section into a pothole. People work hard to build roads while you act like a child destroying public property. Looking at the fist, he commented, "That's cruel, it doesn't hurt at all." Seeing the pothole was still small, he tensed up, took a deep breath and threw another punch that shook the ground, dust flying everywhere. The pothole now turned into a hole big enough for a person to lie down. He exclaimed, "So strong, truly too strong." After finishing the first reward, he continued to check the 2 main dishes, holding a smooth, round gem. He didn't think twice and swallowed it whole. The system announced, "Acquired spatial abilities can store inanimate objects." Thuong Din felt a bit disappointed. The storage space was less than expected but still decent. Next, he picked up the monster's sword and spun around. The system displayed the God Sword list. Level 1 effect, 1 body enhancement, doubling strength. Effect 2 causes bleeding, reduces 1% of the target's maximum health each day. He murmured, "Body enhancement, continuous bleeding." Satisfied, he smiled. His title of the starting God Sword far surpassed others. Moreover, Eve grasped the next script. "With this game hack, who can compete with a face as dark as my soul?" Thuong Din laughed excitedly. The second level gem would appear in 3 days. I'm a bit looking forward to it. Under the gentle sunset, a peaceful evening came to a close. The next morning, as soon as he stepped into the classroom, Thuong Din was swept into the noisy, bustling atmosphere. Groups of students huddled together, chatting cheerfully like a market. Before he could gather his thoughts, the familiar script played out again. His best friend, Boam Su Tu, with his pesky nature that never changes, rushed towards Chu Mo, intending to tease, but Thuong Din, after a night of nourishing and fierce battles, was now quicker than ever. He deftly sidestepped, his movements quick and clean, leaving Boam Su Tu to miss and crash face first into the wall. Thuong Din's unexpected action made his friend pause, eyes narrowing. "Why do I feel something is off with you?" Thuong Din just turned his face away, forcing a few laughs to cover it up. But with his limited mind, Boam Su Tu quickly brushed that aside. The excitement of blood surged. He eagerly recounted, "You know, the real apocalypse has come. Have you seen the news online last night? Many people saw monsters." He held up his phone, putting on a serious face, as if he had just discovered a national secret. Some people even posted pictures of monsters online, but unfortunately, they were all blocked shortly after. Not only in our country but also abroad. Some people even posted pictures of monsters online. But unfortunately, they were all blocked shortly after. Luckily, I managed to save one. Boam Su Tu pointed to the screen, displaying an image of a guy carrying a monster dog on his shoulder, looking no different from the creature Thuong Din had taken down last night. "Look, this is a foreign special forces soldier." According to him, this monster suddenly appeared at the foundation of a building under construction. He acted like a news presenter, sounding even more serious. I guess after he killed the monster, something happened even though he already knew the answer. Thung Din pretended to ask for formality what happened what? Bom Su-tu placed his hands on his shoulders, looking straight into his eyes excitedly, saying that he received a mysterious reward superpower. Superpower, he holds lightning. Bom Su-tu's face was rarely serious, his frizzy hair shaking with excitement. Thung Din thought this guy would be wasting his talent if he didn't become a fortune teller. A true best friend, when there's a good opportunity, invites their buddy to take the risk. Not like someone sneaking a bite in the middle of the night, even though he had a plan beforehand. Thung Din nodded immediately when his friend invited him, getting a clear answer that surprised Bom Su-tu but quickly ended the conversation when class started. Teacher Tao, wearing shiny glasses like a comic book character, stepped up to the podium. Her serious voice echoed, "Hello everyone, regarding the rumors that appeared online today. I hope you do not believe, do not spread, and do not gossip. For us, studying is the most important thing." She was indeed dedicated to her job, but underneath Thung Din, the rebellious one who foresaw the future, muttered, "In 3 days she won't think that anymore." His words caught Bom Su-tu's attention. Glancing at the friend next to him who didn't bother to react, but Bom Su-tu seemed to hear clearly, his eyes glinting with doubt. Could it be you? Time flies like a cup of tea, gone in a flash? The school bell rang and Ms. Tao reminded from the podium, "Today's knowledge is very important and will definitely be on the exam. I hope you all study hard, and if there's anything you don't understand, just come ask me." For everyone it was just a moment, but for Thung Din it felt like a lifetime passing as he sighed and muttered, "Finally class is over." But before he could enjoy it, Bom Su-tu, with a face darker than a pot bottom, lumbered over sounding like he just got dumped. "Come outside with me, I have something to ask you." His expression made Thung Din uneasy. Scratching his head nervously, the schoolyard was now sparse with only a few scattered figures remaining. Bom Su-tu stood with his back turned, asking in a low voice, "Are you hiding something from me?" Thung Din, confused, scratched his head. "What should I say to you?" Before he could explain, the blonde friend suddenly burst into tears and ran off. "From today cutting ties, we're done, goodbye." Thung Din helplessly shouted, "Don't cause a scene." But Bom Su-tu, tears and snot streaming down, turned back sobbing. "I thought we were the best brothers. Turns out that was just my foolish thinking." Thung Din sighed, intending to say it later, but Bom Su-tu's determined look made him change his mind. "You have to promise that this absolutely won't be told to a third party." Bom Su-tu immediately changed his attitude, pointing at his chest, his voice full of credibility. "Don't worry. Do you not trust me?" Thung Din walked to the nearby steps, signaling for his friend to look closely. He curled his finger and flicked gently at the stone slab. Though the force was not strong, the stone shattered into fragments, shooting forward. The lion's mane gasped and shouted, "Damn it!" Thung Din shrugged, his voice calm. "Last night I dealt with a monster and got the corresponding power." Lion's mane's eyes lit up, grabbing his hand and eagerly stroking it. "Oh my God! He keeps touching my hand." Thung Din didn't pay attention. A girl standing nearby was sweating cold, murmuring to reassure herself. So it turns out that friendship among boys is this close. Thung Din still wore a cheerful expression. "Keep it going. The new monster will appear in 3 days and I know the location by then. I will help you deal with them so you will also gain power." Lion's mane was curious, frowning. "How do you know all this?" Thung Din smiled mysteriously. "Heavenly secrets cannot be revealed." The next morning the school was lively as usual, with groups of students trailing after one another, chatting cheerfully, walking around the schoolyard. Thung Din silently walked alone, lost in thought. Thum Nguyen will appear for the second time at an abandoned factory 30 miles away. He recalled the terrifying face and sharp fangs of the white beast from the night before, then silently assessed that Thum Nguyen this time was not like the first. There will be 2 Nguyen species, one small and fast, using claws as weapons, capable of cutting through human flesh in the blink of an eye. He smirked silently. "This type has no defense capability, looks just like an ordinary small monkey." Then he thought of the second one, which was large and muscular with chains wrapped around its body resembling a giant gorilla. Its speed is slow, but its defense and destructive power are astonishing. Thung Din's gaze was unwavering, filled with confidence. But with his current strength and speed, Neither of these Nguyen species were a match for him as long as he dealt with the small one first, incapacitated the second, then let Lien Trin Viu deliver the finishing blow. It would be done while he was deep in thought. An elderly woman rushed over and called out loudly. Thung Din. He turned around laughing. What's up, Aunt Wong, in such a hurry? Aunt Wong grabbed his hand breathless. Come home for dinner with me tonight. Thung Din frowned a bit suspicious. Aunt Wong, is Uncle coming again? Aunt Wong sighed, her voice helpless. This boy has been smart since childhood. There's nothing I can hide from you. You also know that your uncle has been staring at your house lately. You are all alone. Don't conflict with him. If you can hide, then hide. Thung Din gently patted Aunt Wong's shoulder, reassuring her. Don't worry, if I need to go, I will go. I appreciate your good intentions. I will protect my home well. Watching his tall figure gradually disappear, Aunt Wong couldn't help but sigh, feeling heartbroken. Why does such a good boy have to suffer like this? In the peaceful home of Thung Din at this moment, two uninvited guests were blatantly occupying the space. Two men were comfortably seated on the sofa, surrounded by empty bottles and trash. The young man with red hair was munching on peanuts while mumbling. Why hasn't Thung Din come back yet? Aren't those little brats hiding somewhere? The middle-aged man next to him was slightly drunk, holding a half-empty bottle of liquor, slurring his words. What's there to be afraid of? It's better if he doesn't come back. Father and I will stay here forever. He held up a crumpled piece of paper, smugly saying, We have a will, this house belongs to us. Just then the sound of the door opening rang out and both of them shouted, You're back. Thung Din walked in, witnessing the messy scene. His anger rising fiercely, he said sharply, You sneak into my house and on top of that make a mess like this. Really have no shame. He gritted his teeth, his anger like a fire ready to explode. The old man's arrogant son stood up, pointing directly at his face, yelling, Who are you cursing, you bastard? An arm suddenly raised to block in front of him. The old man pretended to be dignified, speaking in a gentle voice, Thung Din, you have lived in this house for a long time. I am the elder, who has been very generous. He stepped closer, patted his shoulder, whispering with a fake expression, You're grown up now. It's time to live independently. How about this? Pack your things and go rent a room. It's still not too late. He pulled out some bills and stuffed them into Thung Din's hand. This 50 is just a small token from me. Take it, don't complain, it's too little. The son saw him silent and pushed forward, yelling, What are you standing there for? Hurry up and pack your things. Get out of my house. Thung Din glanced at both of them, his eyes filled with disdain, holding a fake will and saying, You two are truly disgusting. The words pierced like a dagger to the old man's heart. He angrily shouted, Nonsense. Do you have proof that I'm old? If you have the guts, go sue me with my years of connections. I don't believe you can win. Thung Din couldn't hold back any more, coldly questioning, When the old man was alive, who took care of him? It was me and my mother. Did you two ever lift a finger? When the old man was seriously ill in the hospital, wasn't it my mother and I who stayed by his bedside? His gaze was cold, full of contempt. One person to treat the old man. My mother did 4 things, I did 3 things, and you a bunch of useless drunks. Not only that, but you also frequently steal money from the house. People like you are truly shameful. The old man, far from feeling ashamed, retorted shamelessly, What good does talking so much do? The will is in my hand. This house belongs to us. Either go sue me or obediently get lost. The son scoffed, adding, Sounds so proper. Aren't you and your mother also after this house? Hey, in my opinion, your mother deserved to be hit by a car and die. He didn't stop, continuing to insult, Your whole family is nothing good. You're a bastard. Your mother is a filthy woman, and you act all high and mighty with me here, you scoundrel. Thung Din angry roared, Take back what you just said. That guy was pleased, relishing the challenge, hitting the sore spot right. Go ahead, you useless piece of trash. The old man stood with his hands on his hips, chin raised. How about that? Do you dare to attack an elder like that? The son, seeing Thung Din step forward, excitedly shouted, Today I won't let you live. Thung Din put all his strength into his fist, showing no mercy, delivering a blow that sent the old man off balance, rolling into the corner of the room, only able to let out a heartbreaking scream. The son, seeing his father in such a pathetic state, couldn't hold back, grabbing a bottle of wine and rushing forward. You bastard. But before he could get close, he was struck by Thung Din with a knee straight to the stomach, causing him to double over in pain, flying out to the window, clutching his belly and groaning. He still tried to threaten, "I will call the police, I want you to go to jail." Thung Din just laughed coldly and walked into the room. The useless father and son clutched their wounds, cursing continuously, "You worthless piece of trash. How dare you strike? You'll pay for it. Aren't you acquainted with Chief Wong? I want to lock Thung Din up in jail." Thung Din didn't care, quietly arranging his clothes, contemplating bigger matters. The second wave of Yuan Trung was coming. The world would truly change before that. It was best not to cause trouble. After all, the justice system was still not reformed. His gaze hardened, filled with hatred and humiliation. Hopefully, the old man down there will teach those two a lesson. Finished, Thung Din grabbed his suitcase and slowly walked out. Before leaving, he left a message for the father and son. "You have 3 days to enjoy life." With that, he left, leaving the two dazedly looking at each other. The old man held his face in shock, exclaiming, "This kid has given up robbing our house." The son gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, shouting, "Damn him, Dad. Hurry up and call Chief Wong." But that night at a magnificent hotel in the heart of the city, Thung Din walked in with his suitcase. He said to the receptionist, "A big room for 3 days." She smiled invitingly. "Young man on a business trip, would you like a massage? The girls here have unique techniques." Thung Din blushed, looking away. No need. He felt a hint of unease, sensing that this place was not safe. But it was the closest hotel to the appearance point of Yuan Truong. The receptionist caressed his hand coaxingly. "Don't hesitate to trust me. I guarantee you'll enjoy it." Thung Din pulled his hand back firmly, refusing, really not needing it. Seeing him resolute, she didn't press further, smiling. "All right, second floor, room 208. Don't be too quick to refuse, you might regret it later." As night fell, sweet sounds echoed from the rooms throughout the hotel. Thung Din bit his teeth in distress, covering his ears, shouting, "This damn hotel!" He held a pillow over his face, muttering like a mantra, "No desires, no wishes, no desires, no wishes." Just 2 more days to go. The moans and screams from room 209 not only disturbed Thung Din. In another room, Mock Thursday and Aunt Bac were also restless. Aunt Bac sat on the bed, calmly reading a book, softly saying, "Miss Tran, and this is the hotel closest to the target. I hope you can endure a little." Mock Thursday, irritated, glared. "It's so annoying." She turned to Aunt Bac and asked, "What do you think about this?" Aunt Bac rested her chin in thought, leaning into her tone. It might just be a joke. The breath of the man across from them suggested that this would end in less than 10 seconds. Mock Thursday was stunned, shouting, "Aunt Bac, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the abandoned construction site." Seeing her adorably irritated expression, Aunt Bac laughed. She didn't elaborate, but then returned to her serious demeanor. "Relying on the intelligence gathered by the head of the family, the world has undergone tremendous changes, and the most important thing for survival is to eliminate the unknown monsters." But Aunt Bac's gaze was cold, carefully reminding, "So miss, this time, I must help you eliminate them so you can gain the ability to stand on your own in the future." Mock Thursday was troubled and just nodded lightly. Suddenly, Aunt Bac pointed to the next room where the noise had just stopped. She winked teasingly. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Mock Thursday froze for 5 seconds, realizing what was happening, and shouted in embarrassment, "Aunt Bac." 2 days later, at 11:30 p.m., at a quiet construction site, a cold wind blew through, bringing a chilling sensation that made the hair on the back of the neck stand up. The dim moonlight shone down, revealing 2 figures quietly stepping and creeping like ghosts in the night. Lin Trin Viu tightly grabbed Thung Din's arm, his worried eyes darting around, his voice trembling. "Thung Din, is it going to be dangerous?" Thung Din smiled and patted his shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry. A level 2 Vien Chung isn't strong enough to threaten me. You just need to protect yourself." However, Lin Trin Viu remained uneasy, sighing and mumbling to Thung Din, "What if danger really happens?" Before he could finish, Thung Din interrupted, trying to soothe him. "Don't worry, nothing will happen." Before he could finish his sentence, Lin Trin Viu suddenly threw in, "You lure the monster out first. Let me run ahead." Thung Din helplessly exclaimed, "You really are a good brother to me." Lin Trin Viu crossed his arms and grinned widely, his bright white teeth showing. Of course Thung Din glanced at his phone screen, frowning slightly, 30 more minutes seeing him lost in thought. Lin Trin Viu curiously asked, "What if someone else comes to compete for the Vien Chung?" Thung Din replied firmly, his eyes sharp, "Don't worry, that won't happen." In his mind, he was silently calculating based on the content of the novel. The level 2 Vien Chung will appear after a long night if they are not eliminated. They will flood into the city, causing the whole world to witness a terrifying transformation. He was deep in thought when a strange noise suddenly rang out, making Thung Din immediately alert. Lin Trin Viu hesitantly opened his mouth. "Thung Din, but before he could finish, he was silenced by Thung Din covering his mouth and pulling him into a dark corner to avoid making noise in this desolate place unexpectedly. Aunt Bac and Mock Thursday appeared. Lin Trin Viu whispered in shock, "Isn't that Mock Thursday?" Thung Din hid behind the wall, secretly observing the darkened face. In his mind, he continuously denied, "No way, the content is clearly like this." After a moment of contemplation, he suddenly jolted and murmured, "So that's how it is." Lin Trin Viu was confused and understood nothing. Thung Din silently blamed himself for being foolish. It wasn't that no one discovered the level 2 Vien Chung, but rather those who came to hunt had either failed or been eliminated. Mock Thursday, with a worried tone, softly called out, "Aunt Bac." Aunt Bac responded with a reassuring look, patting her shoulder. "Don't worry, well just proceed." Lin Trin Viu didn't hide it, whispering to Thung Din. "Eve heard that Mokthus family has very strong influence. Do you see the woman next to her? She feels like a special forces soldier." He continued to curiously ask, "Do you think Mock Thursday has gained abilities too?" The two capable individuals are that cold woman. Thung Din did not care and replied decisively, "No matter what, I will not yield the second level Vien Chung to anyone." Immediately after, the two quietly entered the monster's den. Mock Thursday looked at the strange scene inside and couldn't help but ask, "Aunt Bac, did the monster come out from here?" Then Aunt Bac carefully sat down and observed her surroundings closely, slowly explaining, "According to the intelligence at the right time, a kind of magic circle will appear and the monster will emerge from there." She paused, her voice low. "Their physical strength is very high." After speaking, Aunt Bac took out a weapon and carefully instructed, "This is the bomb we made, calculated precisely enough to seriously injure the monster but not kill it instantly. When it is heavily injured, you will deliver the finishing blow." She handed Mock Thursday a combat gun. Mock Thursday nodded, her gaze resolute, quickly accepting the weapon, her voice full of determination. "All right." At the same time, Thung Din and Lin Trin Viu were hiding in a high position, quietly observing Aunt Bac and Mokthus' every move. For someone like Lin Trin Viu, who was afraid of heights, he trembled. His voice panicked. "Thung Din, do we really have to stay here?" Thung Din shot him a sideways glance, retorting with a sarcastic tone, "Do you have a better option?" At this point, Lin Trin Viu had to reply regretfully, No. He fell silent, focusing on observing. While Thung Din was clear on the opponent's plan, he shook his head, thinking to himself, "Using bombs as weapons seems like neither Mock Thursday nor that woman can obtain the power. Unfortunately, this small bomb might injure the first Yuan Trung, but for the second one it basically wouldn't cause any damage. On the contrary, it would provoke the raging beast, extremely disadvantageous for those relying on weapons. But for me, that is an advantage." Thung Din subtly curved his lips, a satisfied smile fleeting across. "That's fine too. After the first one is injured, I just need to focus on dealing with the second monkey." The clock struck 2359 with 55 seconds left. Aunt Bac tightened her grip on the detonator, her gaze tense, murmuring a countdown of 3432. Once the countdown reached 0, her and Mokthus' eyes sparkled with determination. They had resolved to eliminate the Yuan Trung, this time below ground. A bright red formation resembling magic suddenly appeared, accompanied by waves of powerful aura, like a storm overwhelming everything. As the aura gradually dissipated, two Yuan Trung emerged, one large and one small. Aunt Bac and Mock Thursday rejoiced, shouting, "There are actually two, this is great." Thung Din heard this and silently cursed their naivety. Then Aunt Basie tightened her grip on the detonator, her gaze sharp, shouting loudly as if to seize the moment. Now is the time. She activated the detonator and a thunderous explosion echoed, smoke and fire obscuring visibility. In the thick smoke, Aunt Basie thought the plan had succeeded, unable to help but exclaim, "Well prepared." Mock Thursday nodded, highly focused, responding, but everything unfolded completely contrary to their expectations. From the dust, the large Yuyan Trung roared as it stepped out, its eyes burning red as if enraged. Aunt Basie was stunned, disappointed, exclaiming, "No harm done." But then she immediately denied, "That's not true, one is already injured." Indeed, from the smoke a small Yuyan Trung fell to the ground motionless. But the larger one exploded with rage, screaming fiercely, charging toward the two as if to settle a debt. With the instincts of a Special Forces soldier, Aunt Basie immediately fired a powerful shot aiming straight at the monster. But everything was out of control. The Yuyan Trung was unharmed, on the contrary it attacked even more frantically. Aunt Basie anxiously held Mock Thus' hand, panicking and shouting, "Mock Thursday, we're done for, a little Thursday, run quickly." The aura from the beast surged as if wanting to crush both of them. The Yuyan Trung lunged forward, striking hard at Mock Thursday. Aunt Basie quickly hugged her, taking the blow to help her avoid danger. But the beast did not stop. It picked up a large rock from the ground, and while Aunt Basie was still worrying about Mock Thursday, threw it straight at her back. Despite the pain, Aunt Basie still waved her hand urgently, saying, "Little Thursday, run quickly." The fall had severely scraped her leg, her body trembling and unable to stand. But the Yuyan Trung was relentless, continuing to charge, raising its hand to deliver a fatal blow. Mock Thursday, panicking, shouted, "Don't, please don't." Aunt Basie witnessed the terrifying scene, tears streaming down her face, sobbing, "Don't." Little Thursday panicked, shutting her eyes tightly, gritting her teeth, tears rolling down her cheeks, thinking she was done for. But at that moment, something unexpected happened. Thung Din unleashed a combat skill in a critical moment. A powerful punch like thunder sent the Yuyan Trung flying into a corner, crashing hard against the wall. Howling in pain, Mock Thursday hadn't regained her senses, collapsing and crying uncontrollably. Thung Din appeared coldly, his hands unconsciously tightening, slightly trembling. He thought to himself, no matter unguarded pain. Mock Thursday slowly opened her eyes, her sparkling eyes filled with tears, looking at the scene in front of her. Aunt Basie saw her safe. Her heart felt the burden lift, choking back tears. "Hoo-hoo." Little Thursday, the two hugged, tightly comforting each other in tears. Thung Din turned to them, his voice icy, "Hurry up, a level 2. Yuyan Trung is not something you can deal with." Mock Thursday, still crying, looked up at him hesitantly, asking, "Call Thung Din, why are you here?" But he remained indifferent, curtly replying, "No need to explain to her, get out of here immediately." As soon as he finished speaking, the Yuyan Trung from earlier roared and charged again, delivering a deadly punch. Thung Din quickly grabbed its arm, shouting loudly to regain morale. Using all his strength to stop it, his power was so great that it sent the beast staggering back. But Thung Din was also exhausted, panting heavily, thinking, strengthening the body 10 times, yet only matching it. Without hesitation he stood up, performing a technique, his eyes cold. "It should end now." Your actions caused the creature Yuyan to growl in fear and retreat, not wanting to waste time and energy. Thung Din rushed forward. The sharp blade in his hand stabbed straight into the creature's body. Its painful scream echoed mournfully, accompanied by a mystical aura, like when it appeared signaling its death. Right after that, the system displayed a message, "Congratulations humanity, you have successfully defeated the level 2 Yuyan mission accomplished." Thung Din smirked. A satisfied smile briefly appeared and he quickly left, ignoring the creature's screams as it gradually faded into the thick mist when its body turned to dust, leaving behind a sparkling core. Aunt Bach and Mock Thursday were left speechless, amazed to witness everything unfold, just as planned, making Thung Din's smile even wider. He chuckled softly, looking up at Lin Trin Viu, wondering why he still hadn't come down. What was he waiting for? Lin Trin Viu hearing this blushed with anger, shouting out why he wasn't coming down. Thung Din pouted, his tone contemptuous. You are truly useless. Lin Trin Viu, feeling wronged and at a loss for words, replied that it was too much bullying. After a while of arguing, the one afraid of heights still didn't dare to come down. Thung Din had no choice but to jump up, grabbing the collar of his shirt to pull him down amidst Lin Trin Vu's frantic screams. Both landed on the ground, his spirit seemingly leaving his body. But before Trin Viu could calm down, Thung Din quickly pulled him in front of the remaining wind, decisively ordering him to check it out immediately. At that moment, a sudden voice rang out, startling both of them into alertness. Please wait a moment. A man approached them, his cold gaze asking, why haven't you left yet? Mach 2 looked at Thung Din, her eyes sparkling with gratitude, saying, Thung Din, thank you for what you just did. Bak Di also took the opportunity to express her gratitude. Classmate Thung Din, thank you for saving Tutu earlier. But before she could finish, Thung Din raised his hand to cut her off decisively. Don't even think about it. I won't give up this union. Bak Di was unwilling to give up, immediately negotiating. I'll make a proposition you can't refuse. Trin Viu began to feel awkward, hesitating, and spoke up. Thung Din, are you? Before he could finish, Thung Din had already thrust the sharp knife in front of him, his voice serious. Don't dawdle, this is what I agreed upon with you. Hurry up and take action. At this point, even Viu no longer hesitated. He gripped the knife tightly, his gaze determined, replying, all right. Without hesitation, he rushed forward, finishing off the Yuyan in the blink of an eye. Immediately, the system announced, congratulations to humanity. Code 1-666, you have successfully defeated the level 2 Yuyan. Since this was his first experience, Trin Viu was still astonished, shouting out, what is this? Thung Din stepped forward, slightly frowning, and reminded, don't be surprised. Mach Thursday saw there was no reason to stay any longer, hastily urging, Aunt Bak, let's go. But Bak Di remained persistent, moving closer to Thung Din, her tone sincere. Classmate Thung Din, I feel we can still talk. She got straight to the point. It seems you hold valuable information, even surpassing us, but rest assured this is your secret. We won't ask too much. Therefore, I would like to ask for your help in eliminating the monster that appears next time. As for the remuneration, you can make your proposal. This made Thung Din ponder. Seeing this, Bak Di gently emphasized, I believe there's nothing Mach Jia cannot accomplish in this city. After some consideration, Thung Din cautiously replied, I need to think a bit, but you should leave now. This made Bak Di pleased, breaking into a bright smile. All right, if you come to a decision, feel free to contact us. Thursday sighed in relief, seeing the group finally leave while Trin Viu still looked dazed. Thung Din immediately spoke up, like mine, eat this stone. He popped the stone into his mouth, demonstrating for him. As soon as he swallowed, Thung Din's body seemed to burst with strength filled with energy. The system immediately displayed a notification. Chao Chi Han has activated its effect. 1. Solidifying the body grants a maximum strength increase of 10 times and hardness of 10 times. 2. Solidifying the neural reaction ability doubles the maximum human reaction capability with a 10% enhancement. Thung Din was drenched in sweat after his body transformed dramatically. He let out a sigh of relief and smiled with satisfaction. A 10% increase is good enough. He turned to Trin Viu, seeing him still in shock. He shouted, don't just stand there, what is your ability? Trin Viu, confused, scratched his head and replied, my ability is Eagle Eye, increasing the range of vision to 2,000 meters. It doesn't seem to have any effect. Hearing this, Thung Din chuckled and patted his shoulder. And that's Eagle Eye, kid, you've struck gold. Ching Viu looked dazed and smiled foolishly. Is it like this? Haha. Thung Din decided that since he had combat skills, he needed a weapon and handed him a 6-shooter. The system immediately displayed information. Level 1. Firepower, effective range, 500 merus, dealing 10% of base physical damage, igniting the target and reducing the target's movement by 10%. Fire element bombs, 5 pieces, reload time, 10 seconds per piece. But the result pleased Thung Din, and he sighed softly, not a bad attribute at all. Then he curiously turned to Ching Viu and asked, what is your weapon ability? At this moment, Ching Viu was more confident, raising the gun, and proudly replied, exactly. They are 100% within the line of sight. The fifth shot deals 10% of maximum damage. Thung Din gave a thumbs up and nodded in approval. Impressive. Trin Viu scratched his head. Feeling moved, said, Thung Din, all of this is thanks to you. Once done, the two happily put their arms around each other laughing and saying, let's go return to sleep for a while. Starting tomorrow, the world is about to change greatly. Trin Viu chuckled excitedly. Next is the era belonging to the two of us at this time on the busy street. People were passing by and vehicles were bustling. Bak Di was driving while chatting with the head of the family. Seeing Mok Thursday had tiredly fallen asleep, Bai Na said, I'm sorry, head of the family, it was my oversight not to help the young lady gain her special ability. She carefully reported everything that happened tonight. Listening to the head's instructions, she focused on memorizing. It was Mok Thus classmate named Thung Din. You can rest assured I will investigate his background clearly in one day. Finally, the conversation ended. Bak Di sighed, softly murmuring Thung Din's name thoughtfully. Meanwhile, Thung Din and Trin Viu had returned to the hotel after finishing their shower. Everyone quietly rested in their own corners. Trin Viu couldn't help but curiously ask Thung Din, are we sure we're staying here tonight? I understand you're not comfortable. Thung Din replied, I've been here for 2 days already. Just bear with it, you'll get used to it. Trin Viu looked at him blankly and asked, I still have over 500,000. Do you have any money? Thung Din sighed with a hint of regret that he had quite a bit left. But the monetary system would soon be completely disrupted. Unexpectedly, Jing Viu gave a strange smile at Thung Din, making him shiver and ask what he was laughing about. He stepped closer, and Thung Din quickly raised his hand to stop him, carefully pausing, worried about that disease. Yet Jing Viu teased, you haven't said anything yet. Indeed, he still liked it deep down, thinking that everything was wicked. Just then a knock on the door sounded. Food from outside. I left it outside the door. Thung Din hurriedly ran out to get it, reminding as he walked, let's eat and go to bed quickly after eating. 8 hours later, we'll be ready to welcome a new world. He bent down to grab the bag of food, suddenly hearing the sound of high heels. A girl turned her head, their eyes met, and they exchanged an awkward glance. Entering the room, Thung Din still scratched his head and smiled awkwardly, slamming the door shut. He sighed, what a rare gem. During the meal his mood sank into thought. At 8 this morning the sun across the world simultaneously disappeared, replaced by a green sun called Luke Due. Not when Luke Due not appeared. The whole world was engulfed in shades of green. A mysterious voice echoed, telling everyone, the earth has become a playground for the unrace. With this event, the world recognized the seriousness, and governments hurriedly held emergency meetings as the third and fourth mutations appeared, with more people with abilities being born. From then on, the world changed completely, with 5 major countries uniting to establish a special response team and build training facilities for those with abilities. They developed weapons against the unrace, but unfortunately humanity's weapons were nearly useless. Speaking of this, Thung Din's voice turned slightly sad. Jing Viu, munching away, curiously asked Thung Din, how many people with abilities are there in our area? Probably not many, right? You might be the strongest here, right? And what about me? What rank could I be? In response to the series of lengthy questions, Thung Din calmly replied, currently there are no more than 200 people with abilities worldwide. In terms of abilities, you rank at least in the top 30. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly thought of something and his gaze flickered. Over there, Jing Viu exclaimed in surprise. In the top 30 then, can't I do whatever I want without any restrictions? He waved his chopsticks in front of Thung Din, who was sitting in a daze. Hey, what's wrong? Suddenly Thung Din put down the lunchbox and ran outside saying, they'll be out for a bit. Watching his retreating figure, Jing Viu thought to himself, Thung Din, it seems I wasn't wrong. You really are a reincarnated person. He cried and pouted, feeling frustrated, wondering why he wasn't the reincarnated one. At this moment, someone spoke up. I know the girl you're talking about, but not from our place. The hotel owner added, she seems to be from outside, comes to rent a room every so often. Her appearance and figure are top-notch. She could definitely go to a better place. It's really confusing hearing these words. Thung Din laughed loudly. It really is her. Seeing his excited attitude, the owner asked curiously, kid, Do you know her? Thung Din was so happy that he ignored the question and asked directly, Sister, what room number is she in? The owner shook her head. I can't just tell you customer information. But as soon as he placed a stack of money on the table, the owner immediately changed her tone and smiled. 502 with the information. Thung Din waved happily. Thank you. I'll owe you a favor if I can't make it in the future. Think of a way to contact me. The owner angrily shouted, Kid, who are you cursing at? In the elevator, Thung Din was lost in thought. According to the books, the world has 12 high-level mutant abilities known as the 12 celestial stars, each capable of destroying a city. One of them is a female with destructive abilities. A scorpion who calls herself Scorpion, ranked in the top 5. No one knows her real name, background, or past, only that she has a thorny rose tattoo on her back. Scorpion is malicious towards men, enjoys humiliating them and keeping a harem. Many people guess she used to have a special profession. All her actions stem from past hatred. As he walked, Thung Din thought about the thorny rose and the special profession. At least 50 of her is Scorpion. Standing in front of room 502, he hesitated. If she is Scorpion, what should I say? Her heart is definitely full of hatred for men. Can I even talk to her? While he was lost in thought, the door suddenly opened. A beautiful, delicate girl looked at him in surprise. Isn't this the little brother from earlier? Seeing her staring at him, Thung Din quickly said, Hello. I'm surprised. She came closer, stroked his cheek and said, To follow the evil. Thung Din was stunned, stammering, No, I didn't get to finish saying. She gently blew in his ear, whispering, 3001 by 0 bargain. Thung Din panicked and ran away, explaining as he went, You misunderstood, goodbye. The girl looked after him, muttering, This kid is not right. It seems this place cannot be stayed any longer. Back in the room, Trin Viu was snoring loudly on the bed. Thung Din sat at the end of the bed, pulling his hair, lamenting, I can't do it next, just wait slowly until 8 o'clock. Time passed quickly. It was already 0759. Trin Viu, still drowsy, saw Thung Din standing, looking out the window and asked, Thung Din, can you let me rest a little longer? He didn't turn around, just replied, 1 more minute. Hearing that, Trin Viu hurriedly ran over, saying the words aren't finished. He frowned. The sky was still calm, but soon after, the entire space turned green. Thung Din sensed the change. His voice deepened. It's starting. But the whole city was immersed in a strange green hue. Passers-by rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Flowers kept rubbing their eyes, bewilderedly exclaiming, I've been so tired lately. Why is the sun so green? The atmosphere became chaotic. The noise echoed everywhere. I see the sun is green too. What is happening? Is everyone filming a fake show? Don't scare me. The green air continues to spread, enveloping every corner of the city. At this moment, Scorpio drags her feet down the road, looking gloomy, complaining about being sleepy, feeling like she's going to die. She could have slept until noon, all because of that mysterious brat. But then she caught sight of the hotel ahead, mumbling that she wanted to sleep well. But then she noticed something unusual. The cut face had no blood, and the doctors never said that cancer patients would become colorblind. She covered her eyes and gazed at the blue sun, softly saying, But this is really beautiful. Suddenly the sun transformed into the shape of a scorpion. In Scorpio's eyes that image remained. Her body swayed, as if she had lost her soul, then fell hard to the ground. In the world above, Trin Viu observed, suddenly exclaiming, Prepare yourself. Just then, a strange voice echoed, The foolish and despicable humans on earth, good morning. I believe you have received the gift I sent. Thung Din and Trin Viu remained silent, listening intently. The voice continued with a cruel tone. Many of you possess abilities far superior to those on earth. Therefore, starting today, the game is officially established. He announced the name of the game as Yuyan Chung Chi Chien. Earth was once a magical circle called Tam Yuyan, and the monster appearing in it was called Yuyan Chung. He explained the rules. Killing Yuyan Chung will grant you superior powers. On the other side, Bak Di and Mock Thursday also heard every word clearly. Tam Yuyan can appear at any time anywhere on Earth with the sequence number 199. Each time, there will be 999 seats, and in each seat of Tam Yuyan, 19 Yuyan Chung will appear. The rule for victory is to eliminate all Yuyan Chung to secure victory for humanity. His voice suddenly became sinister. If the game fails, Earth will become my food. He licked his lips and said, "That's enough. Playing a game with too much hint information is no longer interesting. That's all. I wish humanity a fun game." After saying that, his voice faded away. Hearing these words, Thuong Din and Trin Viu were stunned. Trin Viu panicked and turned to ask Thuong Din, "Humans will ultimately achieve victory, right?" Thuong Din didn't know how to respond. Countless images flashed through his mind, and with a determined expression he replied, "This time we will definitely succeed." Trin Viu broke into a sweat, stammering, "How can this happen all at once in a strange room?" A group of people were discussing intensely. Mak V Kwok spoke up. According to the investigation results from various countries, this event has somewhat become a reality. Earth is about to become the game of that mysterious being. One person disagreed, slamming the table and shouting, "I don't believe those so-called monsters can withstand the power of firearms. In this world, no life can survive when engulfed by fire." Chu Van Lu added, "I propose immediate nationwide military intervention as soon as Tam Yuyan appears. The government will take action to eliminate it, avoiding civilian casualties." Then Zhang Van Fong opposed, standing up. "This isn't right. According to the latest intelligence, in the second appearance of Tam Yuyan, Yuyan Chung has intercepted small-caliber firearms. With the current situation, next time Yuyan Chung could counter large-scale firearms." Another person pressed, "So what do you think we should do?" Noticing Van Le's question, Van Fong gently pushed up his glasses and calmly responded, "Establish a special team of superpowers, gather all those with super abilities, and build a regular force to confront Yuyan Chung." This opinion made Mak Vy Kwok nod in agreement. He immediately spoke up, "I think Van Fong's suggestion is not bad. These individuals with abilities are the protectors of Earth, but they are also difficult to control. Only by bringing them together can we manage them more effectively. Let's assign this task to Van Fong." Then he turned to Van Lu and added, "Van Lu, with the situation reaching this point, the country will definitely soon face many upheavals. Maintaining stability domestically will be your responsibility." Hearing this, everyone shouted in agreement. At this time, Thuong Din and Trin Viu were leisurely walking down the street, chatting as they went. Thuong Din opened the conversation. "Next, what should we do? The whole world is about to establish an organization specifically to deal with Yuyan Chung." Trin Viu heard this and asked in surprise, Are we going to join the government?" Thuong Din turned to him, eyes sharp, and replied, "No, we will not join the government's organization but choose to be mercenaries cooperating with them." A thought suddenly flashed in his mind following the story of the protagonist in the book. That joining the government would limit actions, causing the loss of countless resources and opportunities. He silently vowed never to make that mistake. He continued, "Joining the government would certainly have benefits, but our actions would be restricted." Trin Viu frowned and asked, "So what do we do now?" Thuong Din, with an expressionless face, calmly replied, "First, we need to deal with some personal matters. The next appearance of Yuyan Chung is in half a month. During this time, we need special training to prepare to deal with the third wave of Yuyan Chung." Hearing this, Trin Viu was momentarily stunned and said, "Personal matters? Thuong Din, you don't mean you want to do something about your uncle, do you?" He frowned, his tone hesitant as he noticed Thuong Din's mood suddenly darken. Trin Viu quickly patted his shoulder in comfort. "Whatever you do, I will support you, just don't turn into a bad person. Both of us want to be heroes saving the world." But in response to that naive statement, Thuong Din didn't know how to reply, only smiled, "Don't worry." At the same time, in a messy room, a man yelled out in frustration, "There is no justice left in this world. I just had a home and started a good life, and now monsters appear determined not to let me live in peace." He crushed the beer can in his hand and angrily shouted, "I could have enjoyed life a bit sooner if it weren't for that hybrid Thung Din. He truly deserves to die." The father sitting beside him softly advised his son, "Now that things have come to this, there is no turning back. We father and son must seize the opportunity to live better." Suddenly, he realized something and shouted loudly, "The little brat's dosage is down." Seeing his son in despair, he helplessly couldn't find the words. Suddenly, he panicked when he saw a knife glinting in front of him. Thung Din appeared, his eyes cold and sharp, saying, "It's your turn now." The man trembled back, shouting, "Thung Din, you are committing a crime. You have killed someone." Thung Din calmly replied, "I know." He trembled like a leaf, stammering, "I am your uncle. You can't be mistaken like that. We are family sharing the same blood." Thung Din slightly tilted his head, his face expressionless. "Family." Then he erupted, shouting all the pent-up anger in his heart. "When my mother was alive, you all did everything to humiliate the two of us. My mother was seriously ill in the hospital, and you not only didn't pay a single cent, but also stood in the hospital room cursing her to die early. After my mother died, you all even plotted to seize the room my mother and grandfather left for me as my own. Is this what you call family? If it weren't for wanting to live peacefully, to not disappoint my mother, do you think you two would truly be alive until now?" And he could only cry and plead, "No, don't kill me. Uncle, please forgive me. I know I was wrong. I will tell you a secret, a shocking secret." Thung Din seemed not to hear, pulling out the knife while saying, "Forgiving you is my mother's and grandfather's duty. As for me, I am only responsible for sending you to meet them." He cried out loud, inadvertently saying, "You know who hit my mother?" That statement made Thung Din freeze. He cried while repeating, "You know who hit my mother?" At this moment, Thung Din's anger had reached its peak. He gritted his teeth. "Who is it?" He hurriedly replied, "It's the nephew of Police Chief Wang. That day he was drunk and accidentally ran into my mother." Thung Din squinted suspiciously, asking, "How do you know?" He trembled honestly, recounting, "There was a time you went to the nightclub with Police Chief Wang. He got drunk and accidentally let it slip. Because of that, you found his weakness, over the years living by flattering him." Upon hearing this, Thung Din clenched his fists tightly, his voice calm. "So that's how it is. No wonder all these years Eve found no clue about the culprit." Seeing that Thung Din seemed to have calmed down, he hurriedly stood up, saying, You know now there's nothing more to discuss. You already know. You should go ahead." As he stepped out the door, his face showed a smug expression. Cursing inwardly, "That damn hybrid, I won't let you go." But suddenly his eyes rolled back and in pain, he collapsed, a knife embedded in his back. Thung Din stood there, a cold smile spreading across his lips. Just then, Lin Trin Viu pushed the door open, catching sight of Thung Din's uncle lying in a pool of blood. Thung Din glanced at his uncle, calmly reassuring, "It's just a little scene, you'll get used to it later." Trin Viu scratched his head, hesitating. Oh, is that so?" Thung Din waved his hand to give orders. "All right, pack up the luggage for me. We're getting ready to leave." Half an hour is enough for him to grasp the necessary skills. A while later, both had finished packing, each wearing a heavy backpack. Thung Din smiled and asked, "Ready?" Trin Viu grinned widely and replied, "Absolutely all set." The two of them high-fived, full of enthusiasm, and shouted in unison, "Let's go." 10 days later, in a black car speeding down the road, Bok Di was driving while chatting with Mock Thursday. "I didn't expect Thung Din to agree to our request. This time we will definitely help her eliminate Yuyan Trung." Receiving the ability, Mock Thursday glanced at her and replied, But Thung Din is indeed mysterious. I didn't expect my old classmate to hide so deeply. I wonder what his background really is." Bok Di frowned, pondering. "I have used all my connections but still couldn't find anything special about Thung Din. All I know is that his background is definitely not simple." Mock Thursday suddenly changed the subject. Up ahead is the abandoned factory that Thung Din mentioned. She suddenly leaned in, focused her gaze, and exclaimed, "The guy at the entrance of the abandoned factory." A blond guy was leaning against a pole, looking as if he was waiting for someone. Mock Thursday and Bak D's car stopped right by him. Both got out facing the confident-looking blonde guy. He smiled charmingly playfully, saying, "You girls are here." But both Mock Thursday and Bak D just stared as if they were evaluating a strange creature. After a moment of observation, Mock Thursday suddenly realized, exclaiming, the image of Lin Trin Vu with his ugly face and craziness from before flashed in my mind. Causing her to be stunned, she covered her mouth and yelled, You are Lin Trin Vu." Lin Trin Vu leaned against the pole, intentionally showing off his handsome appearance, winking at the two girls, his bright white teeth glimmering teasingly. "It's only been a few days and you didn't recognize me." Bak D stroked her chin thoughtfully, commenting, "According to reports, people with abilities will slightly change in appearance or features, but you've changed a lot." Just then a bag flew in from somewhere, landing right by the group. Lin Trin Vu raised his hand to catch it as Thuong Din Thuong casually walked over, saying, "Stop acting cool, let's get in the car." Din Thuong nodded slightly carefully, putting the items in the back seat, then climbed into the car with everyone. Lin Trin Vu glanced at him teasingly, saying, "Still trying to act like a master regardless, I'm the one driving." Turning to Din Thuong, he asked, "Where are we going now?" Din Thuong replied, "The third Tamguin will appear early this morning in City A. Next to the specific location is the underground parking lot of the abandoned Gemini Tower." Bang D nodded, her eyes sharp. "You have locked onto the target." Setting off night, fell the moon hanging over the rooftop of the Gemini Tower. Din Thuong's group stood in the parking lot right in front of the huge sign with the number 3. Bang D couldn't help but exclaim, her voice full of surprise. "Indeed, there is a sign of Tamguin." Din Thuong turned to look at her, asking, "Have you checked the surroundings?" Bang D nodded firmly. "Don't worry, everything has been checked, there are no traces of any activity here." Din Thuong smiled, lightly advising cautiously, "That's good, in 3 hours Tamguin will appear. By then, you all should protect yourselves well and leave the rest to me." Lin Trin Vu suddenly patted Din Thuong on the shoulder from behind, jokingly saying, "Hey, aren't we supposed to take care of it?" Din Thuong glared at him, not holding back, and jabbed a sharp elbow into Lin Trin Vu's grinning face, reminding, "Don't mess this up." Lin Trin Vu pouted, sulking, shouted, "Oh, it's exactly 12 o'clock. Dark energy suddenly surged in the air. Din Thuong's expression became serious as he shouted, "It's here." Bang D and Mock Thursday quickly hid behind a pillar for safety. A slimy monster with a bizarre shape slowly materialized from the dark energy. Lin Trin Vu screamed in panic, it seemed to be quite large. The monster gradually took shape, its body like a thick black-purple liquid with round, silly eyes. It was several times taller than Din Thuong, forcing both Din Thuong and Lin Trin Vu to look up. Din Thuong reassured calmly, "Don't worry." Lin Trin Vu nodded in response. Ahu. Din Tung pulled out a knife from his body, handed Lin Trin Vu a gun, and asked, "Do you remember what I told you?" Lin Trin Vu grabbed the gun and replied, "Brother Tamguin, this time it's a type of sim. Its attack methods have 2 types, namely corrosive acid spray from the mouth and tentacle-like attacks." After saying that, he immediately raised the gun and continued, "I'll sever all its tentacles as fast as I can while you will deliver a fatal blow right." Din Tung smiled and nodded. Yeah, the silly large monster still had no idea that disaster was approaching. Lin Trin Vu frowned and muttered with disgust, "Oh, that disgusting thing." Din Tung reminded firmly, "This guy is filthy, let's finish it quickly." Lin Trin Vu did not hesitate immediately, aiming the gun at the monster and firing continuously. The sound of gunfire echoed throughout the parking space. Lin Trin Vu continuously fired, aiming precisely at the flailing tentacles approaching him. He slightly smirked, activating his power. A brilliant golden magic circle flared up before his eyes. As he unloaded the bullets, he shouted, "Cut it off for me." Miraculously, after the power was activated, all the tentacles hit by Lin Trinvu's bullets were severed in an instant. Din Tung took the opportunity to rush toward the monster lips, pressed tightly, his expression serious. He stomped hard on the ground, gaining momentum to jump high into the air. Din Tung skillfully spun around impressively, catching the monster's attention. As soon as his feet touched the ground, the sharp blade in his hand swung up. He sliced off one of the tentacles on the monster's head, and the severed tentacle fell to the ground with a thud. A monster howled, emitting a strange ear-piercing sound. All of its tentacles have been eradicated now. It's just a trembling, slimy heap on the ground, no longer capable of causing harm, but still not completely dead. Lin Trinvu called out loudly for the girls to come over. Then Din Tung threw a knife towards Mock Thursday, instructing, "This knife is for you." Mock Thursday reached out to catch the knife, hurriedly replied, She gripped the handle tightly with both hands, raising it high to prepare to finish off the monster. But unexpectedly, a pitch-black ball was thrown straight towards her head. Lin Trinvu quickly shouted, "Get down." Din Tung, Bang Di, and Mock Thursday all jumped in surprise. The black ball crashed down, causing a terrifying explosion that created a large hole in the ground. Fortunately, Bang Di managed to dodge in time while Din Tung quickly grabbed Mock Thursday and ran to safety. The whole group immediately became highly alert. Din Tung spoke in a low voice, reminding, "There are others here." Bang Di exclaimed in shock, "How can that be?" From the darkness, a strange voice echoed, "Yes, you've saved one life." The owner of the voice was a scar-faced man. He smirked with a disdainful smile. "Since you've saved one life this time, I will spare you. Get lost." He shoved one hand into his pants pocket while holding a few small grenades in the other, declaring arrogantly, "This creature belongs to me now." Tension filled the air. Both sides were locked in a fierce standoff. Din Tung gritted his teeth, his expression dark. He glanced at Bang Di, reproaching, "Is this what you call a figure? It seems your intelligence capabilities are utterly unreliable." Bang Di paled, unable to retort, only lowering her head to apologize. "I'm sorry, it was my oversight." The scar-faced man sneered intentionally, interjecting, Hey, now's not the time to shift blame. Get lost." Din Tung pondered, his brows tightly furrowed. According to the content in the book, the third Abyss Tower in City A was not targeted by anyone. It was only when the fourth Abyss Tower appeared that someone with surprising abilities discovered and eliminated the Abyss species. He was lost in thought, his gaze tense. Suddenly the scar-faced man moved closer, pressing his face against Din Tung's, arrogantly asking, "You haven't left yet?" Din Tung looked at him, wondering if it was due to the butterfly effect. He sighed. The scar-faced man frowned, growling, "Kid, why are you sighing?" Din Tung twisted his wrist, unafraid, replying, "It's nothing, just that I already predicted this situation." The scar-faced man was taken aback, but still maintained his arrogance. Suddenly, Din Tung threw a lightning-fast punch at him. Dark red streams of air surged, enveloping the space. But unexpectedly, the scar-faced man used his hand to block the attack. This action surprised Din Tung. The man smirked derisively. "You're quite strong." Kid Din Tung immediately stepped back. Escaping his grip, he silently analyzed the ability to control metal. Surely it was a control-type ability, but the body was surprisingly strong. He shouted to Lin Trinvu, "Take action, Lin Trinvu." As Lin Trinvu continuously fired the brilliant golden bullets, zooming towards Tin Tin, he remained unfazed, calmly manipulating the floating steel balls, shattering Lin Trinvu's bullets. While manipulating the balls, he sneered, "This world really is surprising. 2 kids have become strong like this." Lin Trinvu smirked a self-satisfied smile, aiming his gun and saying, "Fifth shot." A bullet wrapped in a fierce flame shot out with tremendous force. Tin Tin scoffed, his voice filled with disdain. Useless, he immediately controlled the steel balls, intending to block the bullet as before. But this time, Lin Trinvu's bullet was not easily stopped. pierced through the steel balls, heading straight for Tintin's right arm. He staggered, coughing violently. Cough, cough, Din Tung. His body shaking, Tintin gritted his teeth. His eyes stunned, unable to believe he had just been hit. Lin Trin Viu took the opportunity to taunt. Uncle, if you lack skill, don't learn to brag like others. Din Tung stepped forward, his tone calm but cold. You've lost an arm, give up resisting, I won't kill you. But contrary to expectations, Tintin, despite being injured, still lunged forward like a gust of wind. He brushed past Din Tung, closing in on Trin Viu, growling with a mad look. He threw a powerful punch at Trin Viu. The boy couldn't defend himself and was knocked away. Din Tung shouted in panic, Trin Viu, you're like losing your mind, TSK. He charged straight at Tintin, but Tintin quickly grabbed his face and slammed him down to the ground. The tremendous force caused the ground to crack. Din Tung gritted his teeth and crawled up, but before he could stand firm, Tintin continued to attack. He tightened his fist, preparing to strike down. Din Tung quickly raised his hand to block, but Tintin was more experienced, using his remaining arm to punch straight into his face. You're still just a kid, Tintin scoffed, continuously raining down punches. Din Tung could only endure, unable to fight back. He continued to taunt. It seemed the boy's ability was perhaps to increase strength. Another punch landed on Din Tung's face. Tintin felt refreshed, but just increasing power alone wasn't enough. Bang Di and Mach 2 both jumped in surprise. Bang Di immediately aimed her gun at Tintin, shouting loudly, don't move. Even from a distance, Tintin closed the gap between the two in the blink of an eye. He struck hard into Bang Di's stomach, catching her off guard, causing the gun to drop from her hand. Mach 2 gritted her teeth, her eyes tense as her small hand tightened around the dagger. Tintin seemed to read her intentions, coldly warning, don't act thoughtlessly. He indifferently turned his back, disregarding Din Tung's group as if they had been completely defeated. Tintin sneered, I told you to get lost, why don't you listen to your elder? He twisted his neck, sneering, oh, I wonder if going to the hospital for treatment now will cost money. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out, startling Tintin. Din Tung, who had already fallen, suddenly jumped up and charged from behind. Tintin's eyes widened, gritting his teeth. Panic-stricken, he turned around as if to scream, hey wait, are you not hurt at all? But before he could react, Din Tung delivered a powerful punch that sent Tintin flying and crashing to the ground. Breathing heavily, unable to move, Din Tung was still smoking after the powerful punch. He paused, took a deep breath to steady himself, then immediately ran to Lin Trin Viu, who was lying on the ground, calling out loudly, Trin Viu, Trin Viu. Din Tung carefully helped Lin Trin Viu up, worriedly asking, what happened to your hand? Lin Trin Viu didn't answer, only asked back, did you win? He moved his arm, slightly replying, I can still move, looks like it's not broken. The special training during this time has indeed been effective. Din Tung turned to Mach 2, who was supporting Bang Di, and decisively ordered, quickly take the opportunity, kill Tam Yuan Truong, then get out of here. Mach 2 did not hesitate, swinging the knife to slash the monster's body in two. It screamed in pain and then vanished, leaving a purple Tam Yuan stone in her hand. Din Tung carried the unconscious Bang Di, reminding Mach 2, swallow this Tam Yuan stone, the questions can wait, just leave here first. As soon as Mach 2 swallowed the stone, she felt herself being pulled into a strange space completely separated from the outside world. Stunned in front of the system screen, she exclaimed, is this really my power? Din Tung was still carrying Bang Di and Lin Trin Viu, slowly leaving the garage. Before leaving, he didn't forget to call out, don't stand there stunned anymore. Mach 2 jumped quickly, responding, okay, and then quickly ran after him. The kid Tintin, with a swollen face like a pig's head, woke up. He scratched his head, looked up at the sky, murmuring, what the hell is this kid? Why is his strength so strong? He sat up, pulled out his phone and said, hello. The voice on the other end replied, why did you take so long? Did something unexpected happen? Tintin sighed, Oh no, don't mention it again. The old horse got broken and was beaten up by two little brats. His face looks like a pig's head now. He trembled as he stood up, sighed heavily. No more talking, I'm going home. In the dark night, Tintin, feeling unlucky, walked into a small old apartment. He angrily kicked the door open, shouting, "What bad luck." Hearing the frustrated complaints, a black-haired man spat coffee all over his face, while the red-haired girl next to him covered her mouth, giggling. How did that uncle get beaten up like this? The black-haired man named MANHUA frowned in suspicion. There are people in this city capable of beating him up like this. The red-haired girl Tien yet reminded the captain, "You should wipe your mouth first." Tin, with a swollen face, recounted, "Don't mention it again, those two brats are not simple at all. One of them shot me and broke my arm as soon as he got in, and the other one is even scarier. He knocked me out with one punch." Manhwa stroked his chin and commented, "To knock you out with one punch, their strength ability is probably quite powerful. If we can get them on our side, they might be a decent fighting force." Tin crossed her arms, pouting, "If you want to go, then go by yourselves. I don't want to get beaten up by those two again." Manhwa turned to the red-haired girl Hoa Hong. "I'll leave this matter to you." She, looking displeased, slammed the table. "I've told you so many times, call me Tien yet." Tin, despite her swollen face, still tried to interject, "I think it's true that bad luck doesn't go away. A beautiful girl who doesn't like to be called Scorpion. I don't understand why she wants to be." Before she finished her sentence, a hand rushed towards his neck at lightning speed. Tien yet glared threateningly, "Be careful, I will kill you." Tin refused to back down, challenging, "If you can, then try it." While the two were tense like a drawn bow with sparks flying in their eyes, Manhwa interrupted, All right, can't you two stop for a moment?" He helplessly held his face. "If you keep arguing, both of you will be killed." Suddenly, his expression changed, exuding a frightening aura. Both Tien Yet and Tin were startled and turned to look. Tien Yet covered her mouth, chuckling playfully. "The captain only knows how to scare others. We won't argue anymore, we'll follow your lead." In contrast, Tin worriedly cursed inwardly, "What a devil of a captain." Manhwa unexpectedly changed his attitude, smiling cheerfully, "Hoa Hong, I'll give you 3 days. If they refuse to join, then kill them." His cold words, spoken in a friendly tone, sent shivers down the spine of the listeners. Tien Yet nodded okay. The next morning, gentle sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the spacious room in a well-kept building. The 4 people, Thuong Din, Chi Vu, Mok Tu, and Ant Bok, were all present. Chi Vu, with his right arm in a cast, sat leaning against the wall, looking very pensive. Ant Bok, seriously injured, remained motionless on the bed, still unconscious. A doctor stood beside her, carefully examining her condition, and reassured, "Don't worry, Captain Bok, there's no internal injury." Even so, Mok Tu couldn't hide her anxiety, her eyes flickering restlessly. The doctor continued in a calm voice, "It's just a minor fracture. Resting for a while will fully recover." After hearing this, Mok Tu felt a weight lifted off her shoulders, her face breaking into a relieved smile. She gently bowed her head and sincerely said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for bothering Dr. Truong." Dr. Truong turned to Chi Vu, examining his injury. "This guy only has soft tissue damage, the bones are fine." Chi Vu, who had been sulking with his handsome face, instantly perked up. He jumped up excitedly and shouted, "Of course. Do you even know who I am?" In his excitement, he carelessly raised his arm, which was in a cast, to show off. But immediately, a sharp pain caused him to freeze. Chi Vu hugged his arm, his face twisting in pain, without daring to cry out loud, only silently groaning inside. Everyone looked at him, shaking their heads with a mix of helplessness and amusement. Dr. Truong raised an eyebrow and asked, "Whose friend is this?" Thuong Din felt embarrassed by Chi Vu's exaggerated behavior, immediately replied, "I don't know him either." Dr. Truong chuckled lightly, leaving the room while reminding, "Miss, I'll go outside first if there's anything. Just call me." Mock Thursday nodded in response. "Yes, thank you, doctor." With a worried expression, Mock Thursday turned to Thung Din. Her voice lowered. "Thung Din, this time our work didn't go smoothly." Noticing her anxiety, Thung Din gently reassured, "It's okay." He quickly changed the subject curiously, asking, "What is your ability?" Hearing about abilities, Mock Thursday immediately perked up. She excitedly exclaimed, "Let me show everyone." Thung Din looked at her radiant expression and smiled. "You look like your ability must be pretty good." Mock Thursday raised her hand, a small flame igniting at her fingertips, shining brightly like a star. Mock Thursday and Chi Vu, who had been sulking in the corner of the room, jumped up to eavesdrop. Their eyes were wide with amazement, even more so than Thung Din. Mock Thursday, with a calm demeanor but unable to hide her pride, shook her head, saying it was not fire control. She gently exerted her strength with her hand, creating a light swirling wind, a few sparkling droplets of water, a blazing flame, and a crystal hovering on her palm, declaring it was elemental control. Thung Din and Chi Vu were almost stunned, bewildered, shouting, "That's so cool." Mock Thursday smiled brightly, nodding, Right. Thung Din leaned on his memories from the novel, pondering in thought. Elemental abilities are divided into 3 levels. Single element controls. One type, multi-element, uses 2 or 3 types, while the rare element is the power of a previously mentioned ability user. Although that character died young, their combat ability was not inferior to the 12 strongest individuals. Watching the elements swirling on Mock Thus' hand, Chi Vu excitedly called out to Thung Din, "It seems like I possess a tremendous power. The fire and ice elements are for attacking the wood element, for healing the earth element, for defense, while the metal element can enhance weapons." Chi Vu's eyes sparkled, eagerly pleading, "What do you think, Mock Thursday? Can we swap powers?" Before she could respond, Thung Din interrupted mockingly, "That's impossible. Don't embarrass yourself any further." Mock Thursday didn't care, throwing Chi Vu a cold glance before turning to Thung Din and asking, "So do you have any plans next?" Thung Din raised an eyebrow in curiosity. "I heard you have insider information, let's hear it." Mock Thursday excitedly revealed, "The country has begun preparations to establish a special task force to deal with Yuan Truong. The first recruitment for ability users has already begun." She raised her hand as an invitation. "I plan to join the task force, and I hope everyone will join me in protecting the earth." "No, but Thung Din, sorry, I don't want to join the government for now." He thought to himself, the country's speed is really fast. Everything has started already. Seeing him refuse, Mock Thursday looked a bit sad and tried to persuade him to join the government. "There's nothing wrong with that. Even though you are very strong soon, Yuan Truong will appear more frequently. Relying solely on personal strength makes it hard to ensure safety, not to mention logistical issues." She continued in an enticing tone, "If you join, you will have support from teammates and a complete logistical system." But Thung Din pointed out the downside. "But it would mean losing freedom of action." Mock Thursday persisted in trying to convince him, but her eyes gradually showed disappointment as she saw he was unmoved. Finally, Thung Din didn't want to linger and said straightforwardly, "No need to say more, I will not join the government." But she was at ease. "Even if I don't join, I will still work with everyone to deal with Yuan Truong to protect the country." Hearing this, Mock Thursday sighed and accepted to give up her intention to persuade him. She smiled softly and sincerely. "All right, it is indeed a pity, Thung Din. If you change your mind later, feel free to contact me. Whenever you need help, don't hesitate to say." Thung Din hesitated slightly, avoiding her gaze, and whispered, "I do have a favor to ask of you." Glancing around to hide her embarrassment, she said, "I need some rent money, nothing but a condition I need." Mock Thursday, with the demeanor of a CEO, confidently said, "I may not be sure about anything else, but I have enough money." Thung Din, with a straight face, blurted out a number that shocked the listener. 100 million, is that okay? Realizing he seemed to be demanding too much, he quickly scratched his face and lowered his voice. Is that too much? 50 million is fine too. Mock Thursday, with sharp eyes, leaned closer, her voice suspicious. Thung Din, why do I feel like you're plotting something? He immediately rebutted with an innocent expression. You're overthinking it, absolutely not. Seeing him insist, Mock Thursday nodded generously in agreement. Alright, I believe you. 100 million is not a problem. Give me the account number, I will arrange it. Chi Vu stood aside witnessing this wide-eyed in astonishment and murmured, Canada illusion, is it really happening? Mock Thursday teased him with a glance. Otherwise what? Before leaving, Thung Din did not forget to compliment her. No wonder you're Miss Mock truly generous. He turned to Chi Vu urging, we will take our leave now. May we meet again by chance. Mock Thursday saw them in a hurry and curiously asked, in such a hurry it used to be, but it no longer matters. Is the wound healed yet? Thung Din reassured confidently, it's okay. This little wound won't kill me. Chi Vu, who had been ignored until now, irritably spoke up. Hey, shouldn't you ask for my opinion? But Mock Thursday still doubted, thinking, why does Thung Din need such a large sum of money? Could it be that he wants to build his own power? The world has coordinated to establish a special task force to deal with Tam Yuyan. United to protect the Earth, the female announcer continued. Yesterday our country basically completed the special task force located in 6 cities. The specific locations are as follows. Both were panting while conversing. Chi Vu asked Thung Din, should we go see the situation? Thung Din shook his head. No need, how is our base doing? Chi Vu reports. There's still half a month left to complete the renovation as you requested. Thung Din frowned, his voice eager. Tam Yuyan is about to appear again. I'm really anxious. He jumped up decisively. Just 3 more days, it's time to prepare to set off. Just then, from outside the door, a girl with long hair, surrounded by a cold aura, walked in. Both were instinctively startled, gripping their weapons, ready to respond. The girl, her eyes sharp as knives, growled, finally found you too. Do you know that I was scolded by the captain for 7 days and nights because of you? But just a few seconds later, she unexpectedly changed her tone to be cheerful. Oh, it's you, little brother, it turns out you have also gained power. Seeing the girl self-identifying as Tien Ha appear with unusual vigor, Lin Truong Vu curiously turned to Thung Din. Since when do you know such a beautiful girl? Thung Din fell into thought, his gaze momentarily contemplative. She really is Tien Ha. But why did she come here? Without any hesitation, Tien Ha sat down on the floor, her voice tired. Is there any water? I'm dying of thirst. Lin Truong Vu quickly grabbed a water bottle, respectfully handing it over. Yes, here you go. In response to his enthusiasm, Tien Ha smiled her delicate hands, accepting the bottle of water. She glanced at him, her voice teasing. Ah, little brother looks pretty good. Do you have a girlfriend yet? Her charm with a radiant smile and natural demeanor made the atmosphere suddenly feel intense. Lin Truong Vu was unexpectedly attacked by her flirtation, his face turning as red as a tomato, flustered and unable to respond. But Thung Din did not let the atmosphere linger, coldly interrupting. What are you here for? Tien Ha, with confidence beyond human limits, held her head high. I'm here to introduce myself so you can introduce yourselves back. I'm Tien Ha from the 12th Mercenary Squadron. The big star you defeated before was one of our squad members, Tien Ha. Hearing this, Lin Truong Vu was startled as if awakening immediately, aiming his gun at her, roaring, Are you here for revenge? Tien Ha showed no signs of weakness, stepping closer, gently lowering his hand, her voice soft yet full of implications. Don't be so tense, little brother, I mean no harm. Just want to ask if you are interested in joining the 12th Squadron. Knowing that Thuong Din was about to retort, she quickly cut him off. Don't say anything. With a gentle tone but icy words, she continued, the captain instructed that if you don't agree, just kill you, so think carefully. Lin Truong Viu, who was already embarrassed, now stiffened and shouted, "You are alone, we are too." But in that instant, he widened his eyes, feeling as if a strange force was choking him. He knelt down on one leg, his head feeling like it was about to explode. Not only him, but Thuong Din was also affected, his body shaking uncontrollably, sweat pouring out. Tien Hak T1, causing it all, smiled brightly as if nothing had happened, teasing, "You just called me a beauty, now you call me an old lady." Kids really change quickly. She approached her sharp gaze, looking at Thuong Din. "Can you answer me now?" Thuong Din, even though he was furious and grinding his teeth, could only glare in silence. Lin Truong Viu, from being fascinated earlier, now turned to despair, unable to utter a word. The atmosphere was as tense as a drawn bow, until a voice yelled from behind, "You wicked woman, we finally found you." It was the assault team unexpectedly appearing, inadvertently rescuing the two. Tien Hak, who was confident of victory, now turned pale, mumbling, "It's over." Thuong Din spoke in a low voice, her eyes sharp. "Who are you?" Tien Hak answered without hesitation. "Assault team, I have a bit of conflict with them." She gritted her teeth and mumbled, "Damn it, I was clearly very careful, how was I still being followed?" Tien Hak led the assault team, roaring in anger. "You poisonous woman, I finally caught you. Today I will break your limbs and throw you into the mountains, watching the wolves tear you apart, piece by piece." Thuong Din frowned in doubt. "What did you do to him?" Tien Hak replied nonchalantly, "I castrated him." As soon as the words left her mouth, Thuong Din was startled, sweat pouring out, screaming in horror, "What?" Both sides were now in a confrontational stance, the atmosphere tense to suffocation. But the assault team was much larger, creating a clear disparity. The bald man gritted his teeth, his voice growling each word. "No wonder you're a slut, now you're serving two men at the same time. Calling you a filthy bitch is still gentle." Tien Hak yelled in fury, "Baldy, do you want to die?" The bald man laughed menacingly. "Want to die today? It's only you who will die." Tien Hak, "I have thoroughly understood your abilities, and have prepared well, I don't want to argue." Tien Hak immediately summoned her power, the mysterious green flame enveloping her, her gaze as sharp as a blade. She gently reminded Thuong Din and Lin Truong Viu, "I have detoxified the poison in you. I will hold them off, you go ahead. This does not concern you too." After finishing her words, she waved her hand and shot green liquid towards the assault team. The bald man saw the poisonous monster charging at him, yelling loudly, "Old man." The two guys called old men immediately raised their iron rods, smirking disdainfully. He swung his rod easily, dispelling the monster, turning it into debris, before Tien Hak's astonished gaze. The old man looked at her smiling defiantly. "Your poison is nothing," the bald man smugly declared. "The old man's ability is purification, specializing in countering your poison." Tien Hak's face darkened, thinking, "It's over." Before she could collect herself, another thug rushed in, launching a sharp gust of wind. Tien Hak couldn't dodge in time, getting hit the backlash, causing her pain, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The bald man seized the opportunity, pointing and ordering, "Crush her." The thugs immediately rushed forward. Suddenly a gunshot rang out, aimed directly at the assault team, causing them to panic and retreat, shouting, "There's a gun." Lin Truong Viu held a smoking shotgun, sternly warning, "Don't move or this bullet will go through your heads." The old man and Thuong Din slowly advanced, flexing their hands while smirking. "Sister Tien Hak, today you owe us a big favor." The second old man, realizing the unfavorable situation, whispered to the bald man, "Boss, let's retreat. These two kids are probably also fake abilities, our chances of winning are not high." The bald man frowned, gritted his teeth and nodded slightly. Tien Hak, despite struggling, still shouted loudly, "We can't let them go." But the man with half of his face hidden ignored her words, swinging his hand to gather strength. A flash of light appeared, and the entire assault team vanished without a trace. Tian Hak was so angry that she ground her teeth, turned and yelled, "You two idiots." Thuong Din remained calm. "Interrupting what's wrong? Do you want us to kill for you, Tian?" He exhaled, holding her face to reveal a malicious look in her eyes. She spoke with a hint of meaning. "It's all my fault, but after today you have offended them now. These people hold grudges, they will repay any offense. It seems that you two only have the option of joining the 12-star squad to save your lives." Thuong Din smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Actually, I have a better suggestion. Do you want to hear it?" Tian Hak frowned in suspicion. "You don't mean you want me to join your group, do you?" He raised his hand, his voice firm. "That's right, join us, Tian." He laughed uncontrollably. "Are you serious?" Thuong Din nodded without hesitation. "Ahu." She turned to flaunt her alluring curves, her eyes gleaming with interest. "He is indeed an interesting kid, but I don't join casually." Thuong Din worriedly asked, "You aren't hurt, are you?" Tian Hak proudly smiled. "My ability is only to use poison." Lin Truong Vu, standing beside her, clenched his fist angrily and shouted, "You're plotting against us." Tian Hak glanced over her, smile, brighter than flowers. "How can that be called plotting? Beautiful women are born to deceive people, that's just their nature." After saying that, she turned her back, striding away, not forgetting to look back and blow a heart with a wink full of charm. "Consider this as I owe you two a favor this time. Goodbye." Lin Truong Vu placed his hand on Thuong Din's shoulder, sighing in frustration. "A poisonous person." Thuong Din also sighed, murmuring, "We've really messed up. Not only have we attracted the attention of the 12-star squad, but now we've offended another force." But immediately after he smiled, extending his hand forward, "Let's go. This place has been exposed, staying here is meaningless." Lin Truong Vu stretched and smiled brightly, with only 5 days left until the next emergence of Shen Yuan. Thuong Din put her hands on her hips, glancing at him, happily replied, "In 5 days, the 4th Shen Yuan will appear in City F. It seems we should get there early. Consider it a relaxation before the big battle." The scene shifted to a luxurious city where bright sunlight blazed brilliantly. Lin Truong Vu and Thuong Din leisurely strolled through the streets. He was full of excitement, pointing everywhere. He looked over there. Where he pointed was the 6th area, the registration point for the combat team against the Yuan species. Both of them stopped to look at the massive building in front. Lin Truong Vu couldn't help but speak up. "Should we stop by and take a look?" Thuong Din glanced at the building with hesitation, but before he could respond, Lin Truong Vu pushed his shoulder and stepped forward, startling him. "Come on, we're already here, let's take a look." Seeing Thuong Din's helplessness, he sighed softly and mumbled in disappointment. "Well, it won't hurt to take a look." But immediately after, a thought sparked in his mind. "Who knows, maybe we will encounter a powerhouse like the ones described in books appearing here. If there really is recruitment, it could be a good opportunity." His footsteps led him to the registration area, the space buzzing with voices. Guards stood solemnly everywhere. Vehicles and the sounds of registration echoed throughout the area. Thuong Din suddenly saw a figure approaching, casually greeting the two. A steady voice spoke, "Thuong Din and companions." Facing him was Tae King Gwyn, still in elegant attire, hands in his pockets, walking leisurely. He smiled and asked, "Are you here to register?" Thuong Din glanced at him, the corners of his mouth slightly curled in a teasing manner. "Only those with abilities can register, right?" Tae King Gwyn chuckled lightly, his demeanor graceful. "Of course not. No special abilities are required. Just outstanding skills are enough to participate in the test." After finishing his sentence, he slightly bowed his head, lifting in a formal greeting. "By the way, let me introduce myself. I am Tae King Gwyn, the person in charge of Area 6. Hearing that name, Thuong Din was momentarily stunned. His eyes widened as he repeatedly thought of the name Tae King Gwyn, seeing his surprised expression. Tae King Gwyn slightly adjusted his glasses, his voice curious as he looked at him, seemingly very surprised. Thuong Din quickly waved his hand, smiling politely, saying, "Your name is similar to my brother's name, so I was a bit surprised." After saying that, he fell into deep thought. His gaze showed some hesitation as he remembered a book he had read. Most powerful individuals possess exceptional abilities, but a few, even without abilities, can still command the winds and summon the rain. Among them, the most terrifying person is Tae King Gwyn. He recalled that the book mentioned a large fire of unknown origin. Information about Tae King Gwyn in the book is sparse, only briefly touching on a few details in government documents. After the city was devastated by Yuan Truong, he became discouraged and formed his own mercenary group. The image of Tae King Gwyn, solitary yet powerful, seemed etched deeply in his mind. Initially, no one knew what Tae King Gwyn's true ability was. People only saw him leading the mercenary group, employing the weak to defeat the strong, creating countless miracles. Notably, his group once astonished the world by simultaneously taking down 3 level 6 Yuan Truong, a feat that even the 12 strongest individuals at that time could not achieve alone. The image of Tae King Gwyn standing alongside one of the 12 cold and ruthless powerful individuals, wielding his sword with power, appeared vividly. In fact, he once faced one of the strongest and ended with a crushing victory. From then on, Tae King Gwyn was like a king on his throne with an invincible army behind him, revered by the world as the Invincible King. But as time passed, the image of that army was buried in fierce battles facing hundreds of small troops. In the end, Tae King Gwyn's team completely disbanded, the sight of burnt flags and thick smoke rising as a memorial for the fallen heroes in battle. Thuong Din pondered, thinking, if only we could pull him to our side. Before he could finish his thought, he looked up at Tae King Gwyn and spoke. "Could you introduce this place a little, even though we don't have the ability?" But wanting to contribute to protecting the homeland, Tae King Gwyn adjusted his glasses, his smile slightly cold. "Of course, you two can follow me to the office. I will introduce in detail the scene at a street corner with bustling stalls inviting passersby." A brown-haired guy around the same age sat among the crowd and spoke. "The security here is very strict. In addition to the large armed forces, there are also many who hide in the shadows." The bearded guy next to him nodded, his voice deep. "Their security is indeed strong, but I have used my ability to check inside. There are only a few capable ones. They are no match for us." John heard this and lightly touched his earpiece, looking pleased. "Has Josh secured the area yet?" A voice as quick as the wind came through the earpiece. On the rooftop of a building, Josh is holding a weapon with a smirk. "The area has been secured. The boss can launch a surprise attack at any time." With a wicked smile, the countdown for the 15-minute mission begins. In the space, a decisive call rang out, "Understood." In Tae King Gwyn's office, he calmly welcomed Thuong Din and began to present his skills. With a gentle motion, he lifted the teapot, pouring steaming hot water into the cups. The white steam curling invitingly. "Sit down," he smiled warmly. "Try it. This is my favorite tea." But as soon as he finished speaking, Thuong Din skillfully waved his hand. "Thank you, but we don't like to drink tea." Tae King Gwyn raised an eyebrow, slightly noticing their wariness in their eyes. He smiled faintly, his voice deepening. "It seems that your vigilance is quite high, so let's get straight to the point. What is your purpose here?" The unexpected question left both of them stunned, their eyes showing confusion. But Tae King Gwyn did not let go, leaning both hands on the table, looking mysterious. "You are perhaps ability users, right? Moreover, your purpose in coming here is not to announce your identity." He looked directly at Thuong Din, his gaze sharp as if to pierce through. He raised his head thoughtfully. "Don't need to speak, you know who I am." Thuong Din quickly waved his hand, a forced smile, trying to dispel the tense atmosphere. "Are you being too sensitive? I really just share a name with a friend of mine. I am not the least bit shaken." Tae King Gwyn replied seriously. "Since I was young, I have had a special ability, or rather an intuition." He stared intently. Thuong Din felt as if the other party was just a small insect. "Under the glow, I can sense things that no one else sees through expressions, moods, movements, the way one walks, even the taste of a person." He paused, his gaze sharp. You not only know me but understand me very well. But strangely, I do not know you. So who exactly are you? What is the purpose of being here? His words were like a knife causing Thuong Din to waver internally, secretly thinking, is this really Tae King Gwyn? The feeling of oppression is truly frightening. But he quickly regained his composure, stood up, his voice serious. I know at this critical moment being cautious is right, but please believe we are just ordinary people. But Tae King Gwyn was not easily convinced. He coldly concluded, since the question cannot provide me with an answer, if that's the case, we have no choice but to take you to the verification department. A green wall appeared filled with characters like programming code blocking their way, seemingly about to move them elsewhere. Tae King Gwyn extended his hand, explaining, this is a device specifically used to counteract ability users. Even if you can defeat a level 3 Gwyn Truong, you still cannot escape. But before he finished speaking, Thuong Din threw a powerful punch at the wall, causing it to crack. Tae King Gwyn was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. Thuong Din twisted his hand, smirking. It's actually quite tough. With a darkened face, he exerted force to shatter the wall mercilessly. Still in a crouched position from the previous punch, Thuong Din looked up to face Tae King Gwyn, who was in shock. I admit I am indeed an ability user, but please believe we mean no harm. The situation changed. Tae King Gwyn pondered, his face darkened. He secretly thought that the power of this guy seems to be body enhancement. But breaking a level 3 prison must definitely be level 4 or even level 5. He spread his arms before the two glowing faces, his voice deep. Right now I can only choose to trust you. After all, if you want to do something, I have no ability to resist. But at his feet, Thuong Din slightly adjusted his stance as if ready to deal with any situation. Scratching his head, his face slightly flushed, chuckling. Do I really look so much like a bad person? But before he finished speaking, a loud explosion echoed the light, blinding the entire office, feeling pressure from behind. Thuong Din gritted his teeth, his sharp gaze glancing towards the explosion. In an instant, he appeared behind Lin Trin Viu, startling him to turn around. Tae King Gwyn seemed too accustomed to unexpected situations and coldness. Beneath his feet, a mysterious device gradually activated, emitting a strange energy. Tae King Gwyn stood firm, his gaze resolute, unfaltering in the face of the raging fire rushing towards him. He waved his hand, creating a stream of icy air that charged straight into the screaming flames, devouring everything. In an instant, the flames disappeared, leaving behind a thin haze mixed with remnants. He pondered silently. Not just body enhancement yet can still withstand an elemental attack. The clothes on Thuong Din are torn to shreds, with several bright red burn marks clearly visible on his skin. He frowned slightly, thinking to himself that his body was still injured, seemingly not completely immune to the elements. In contrast to his calm demeanor, Lin Trin Viu next to him showed clear signs of worry, his cautious eyes scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, an announcement echoed throughout the office, drowning out all other sounds. The department is under attack, heavy firepower. Tae King Gwyn glanced up, his gaze sharp. The alarm went off again. Lin Trin Viu turned his head, trying to understand what was happening. The department is under attack, heavy firepower. Thuong Din quickly scanned the area, raising his voice. All departments pay attention, prepare. Then he turned around, looking directly at Tae King Gwyn, his voice firm. Trust me, all of this has nothing to do with me. I will help you, but I need you to trust me. Tae King Gwyn stroked his chin deep in thought for a long time. Thuong Din's sincere gaze made him nod. The look in his eyes proved he had never lied. I choose to trust you. Before further discussion could take place, Tae King Gwyn rushed outside, his tone decisive. The opponent had heavy firepower. Follow me to the first floor. Thuong Din and Lin Trin hurriedly ran after the echoing sounds throughout the building. The sounds of heavy weapons gradually became apparent from every corner. A voice roared, if you want to meet your ancestors, then come on in. On the rooftop, Josh, the leader, tiredly lifted his binoculars and muttered, No way in such a short time you've managed to respond. It seems I've underestimated you. But his regretful expression quickly turned into a sly grin. He aimed his gun, the power coalescing into a brilliant purple lightning bolt that flashed. Targeting beams erupted continuously, destroying the upper floors of the building, causing them to collapse into rubble. Josh triumphantly tapped his earpiece, announcing, "The boss has successfully suppressed the other side." John burst into a sinister laugh, his smile revealing a malicious intent. He decisively ordered the action. The scene shifted. A well-dressed man, his face scrunched up, stood next to a man with black hair. He exclaimed in astonishment, "So someone dares to attack our headquarters." As the words left his mouth, the raiders surged in. John, with a cunning look, turned to the brown-haired man beside him and asked, "Is 1 minute enough?" The brown-haired man smirked and replied, "Leader, you underestimate me too much. Give me 10 seconds. He immediately took action, closing his eyes, a self-satisfied smile. The black-haired man sighed and muttered, "Leader, you really are cautious." But the raiders did not allow them to continue their conversation. With angry expressions they charged forward, their strength exploding like a whirlwind. The well-dressed man suddenly transformed his body, exuding a powerful aura. "Your actions now are considered terrorism. Surrender if you don't." But John stubbornly continued to smile, counting down 5. His disdain infuriated the raiders. People in green, red and yellow simultaneously unleashed their powers towards the brown-haired man. Suddenly a flash of light appeared. The black-haired man exclaimed in surprise, "Transform." It disappeared just for a moment. The brown-haired guy rushed past them as quick as lightning, leaving the group frozen and unable to move. He raised his head with a proud smile. 10 seconds were enough for 3 Special Forces soldiers to immediately open fire with a decisive command, "Shoot." But a figure showed no fear, snapped his fingers, and with a triumphant smile raised his hand high. After the snap, a series of bullets were halted by a blue circle like an impenetrable membrane. A trembling Special Forces soldier, his voice faltering with fear, shouted, "Monster." He trembled, turned around, and the bullets spun along with him, creating an increasingly wide distance. He seemed to be dancing ballet, smirking, the scene beautiful like a painting. Suddenly he stopped. The bullets shivered, and then followed his command, rushing straight ahead, piercing the armor of the Special Forces soldiers. He casually bowed, smiled lightly, thanking that kindness. The smile quickly turned into a smug expression. "Split up. There are 14 minutes left. Quickly. Find the important documents." Suddenly a chilling aura filled the air, startling John. A deafening shout rang out, "Be careful." In an instant a bullet whizzed past just a few centimeters from his eyes. He widened his eyes in astonishment. From the door to Kien Nguyen, Thung Din and Lin Trin Viu entered, their cold and ominous aura, equally sinister. Thung Din proudly raised the smoking gun. Josh watched the scene and laughed with delight. "Boss, the intel was flawed. Someone has a new ability. It seems the opponent has a power similar to mine. I want to play with him." Still annoyed by the earlier bullet, John's face darkened, and he nodded. "Don't take too long," Josh replied succinctly. In an instant he unleashed his power and threw his weapon to the ground. A wave of oppressive power spread, engulfed in a cold purple hue. "Find Lean, the explosive mode has ended." The sniper loaded his weapon. Observing the chaos, Tae Kien Nguyen frowned and looked up to ask firmly, "Who are you?" John Wilson flashed a friendly smile, but his eyes emitted a gloomy, killing intent. He didn't answer directly, but replied coldly, "You must be the one in charge here, right?" Without waiting for an answer, he excitedly raised his hand to introduce himself. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Johnson from the Rose Lyric Mercenary Group." Beside him a brown-haired man leisurely wiped blood off the blade at his feet. A power user lying motionless, blood soaking the ground. Tae Kien Nguyen squinted slightly silently, pondering about the Rose Lyric. Thung Din behind was also murmuring to himself. The novel never mentioned any information related to the Rose Lyric. It seems they are not an outstanding mercenary group. Not trying to remember more, Tae Gwyn asked directly. Who sent you here? John did not answer the main point, putting his hands in his pockets, looking arrogant. Sorry, we are a professional mercenary group. I cannot disclose information about the client. He laughed coldly, his voice becoming serious. If you want to know, you can go to hell and ask Demon Sadong. Without giving everyone a chance to react, a bullet flew in from behind at a terrifying speed. Lin Trin Vu with his keen power enhanced eyesight immediately sensed the danger, shouting, "Be careful, there's a sniper." Like lightning, Mr. Dung pulled the trigger, firing a deflecting bullet that caused the incoming bullet to veer off course. His face scrunched up from the pressure. The opponent did not delay, either pulling the trigger almost simultaneously. The two bullets collided, creating a violent shockwave, smoke billowing. Josh's bullet veered off and fell to the ground. Lin Trin Vu's face darkened with fatigue, but Josh was even more excited, laughing loudly. That was amazing. The powers are completely comparable. Give me more surprises. He held the bullet, exuding a jet black aura, a sinister smile. Let me see if you can take this bullet. As soon as he finished speaking, Josh shot a bullet imbued with destructive power, diving down from the rooftop. Lin Trin Vu looked up, realizing the difference, and smirked. This bullet was not like the previous one. Quick as a flash, he gripped the gun tightly, channeling power into it, preparing for battle. Two bullets, one bright yellow, one cold purple, raced towards each other, accompanied by his shout. But I am also the fifth shot. Boom! The two bullets collided, smoke filling the air, yellow and purple light erupting from the center of the smoke. John Wilson stepped out, mocking. It seems you have encountered an equally matched opponent. Despite standing far away, Josh refused to back down, shouting, "Boss, you underestimate me too much. I still have a trump card here." In the remnants of the smoke, Lin Trin Vu cautiously turned to Thuong Din. Deep voice, the opponent has a very strong sniper. What now? Thuong Din squinted, a thought briefly flashed in his mind. Slowly, the Gwyn hesitated. His gaze swept over the withered teacher, feeling a shiver from the destructive power emanating from it. Suddenly, he stomped his foot hard on the ground, causing the stone surface to crack, creating a web of fractures. Thuong Din immediately shifted to a defensive stance, startling the two opponents into turning to face him. He was ready to fight. Thuong Din's shoes burst into bright red flames. He coldly spoke, "The opponent is a well-trained mercenary from this mysterious place. They also have a powerful sniper suppressing us." He looked up, his cold eyes exuding murderous intent, his voice deepening. "Our combat power is too weak in this situation. We have almost no chance of winning." Suddenly, Thuong Din roared loudly, charging forward. The Gwyn and Lin Trin Vu immediately followed. A high-pitched laugh rang out. "Haha, of the 36 stratagems, running is the best strategy." The three charged straight into the wall. A loud crash echoed and the wall shattered completely. The trio of mercenaries witnessed this scene. John Wick smirked slightly, furrowing his brow in silent admiration of their cleverness. Before he could say more, his earpiece crackled with an urgent voice. "Boss has successfully locked on to the target. Request to pursue." From another angle through the scope, Sniper Gales was watching the group of Thuong Din escape. A cold voice rang out in the earpiece. "Request denied." Gales sighed, resting his gun on his shoulder, his face showing annoyance. What a pity, it's rare to meet someone with similar abilities. Poor kid, just a slave to capitalism. He switched scenes to a quiet road where the trio had found a temporary hiding place. Thuong Din placed his hands on his hips, sighing. "You should be safe here." He turned to Tae Gwyn, his deep voice filled with regret. "I'm sorry, in that situation I could only make that choice." Tae Gwyn replied calmly. "Your choice was correct. It's just that you also underestimated the special structure of the country." Suddenly he asked, "Huh?" Right after that, Tae Gwyn pressed a green button under his foot. A circle of blue light flashed, revealing a bag. "Let's go, we are returning." He quickly pulled out his phone, his face expressionless. Dialing T to report the Special Operations Team against superpowered individuals. After speaking, he lit a cigarette, took a puff, then turned his back hands in his pockets. While Black Leopard was smoking, his voice lowered. "Little General, let's leave now, we are going back." Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu stood frozen in place, shocked. A question briefly flashed in Thuong Din's mind. What is the anti-superpower team? Behind on Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu followed quietly observing Black Leopard smirking with a teasing tone. Old T ran pretty fast just now. Then he turned around pointing to introduce. "This is Black Leopard from the Anti-Superpower Special Operations Team serving as the lookout." The cold dark face of Black Leopard made Thuong Din shiver slightly. In his mind, he thought of the captain of the 6th District, his gaze sharp as a knife. He suddenly realized, this was Black Leopard, the strongest fighter of the mercenary group, who once fought side by side with Tae King Gwyn in the legendary Undefeated Saga. The image of the two of them back to back smiling victoriously amidst the monsters inadvertently flashed through Thuong Din's mind. Black Leopard with his old habit lit a cigarette, took a puff and casually invited, "Wanna smoke one?" Both Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu, not used to such playful behavior, quickly waved their hands in refusal. "No thanks." Black Leopard the smoker looked no different from a thug smiling friendly like a beauty queen. "You know me right." Seeing that he wasn't as fierce as his reputation suggested, Thuong Din happily replied, "First time meeting." Although he appeared relaxed on the surface, he had secretly built up a defensive wall inside. The people around Tae King Gwyn were all monsters, so he thought he needed to be more careful with his expressions in the future. After finishing the cigarette, Black Leopard threw the butt on the ground and stamped it out mercilessly. Once finished, he didn't linger long and said, "All right, I still have things to take care of. You all can keep talking." Before leaving, Black Leopard turned back, his eyes gleaming with amusement. "Old T, I really like these two kids. Make sure to assign them to my department." Tae King Gwyn, used to such flattery, smiled lightly and said a few nice words. "Black Leopard is truly an outstanding warrior. You two, do you want to join us?" Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu looked at each other frozen for a few seconds. Then Thuong Din skillfully declined. "If the country needs me, I will do my best to help, but I still prefer a free life." "I'm really sorry." Tae King Gwyn knew Thuong Din was picky and did not try to persuade further. He nodded. "All right, if you change your mind one day, feel free to come find me anytime. The door to the 6th District is always open for you." After a while of chatting, he raised his hand to say goodbye. "I won't keep you any longer. I still have to clean up the remains here. Take your time. Hope to see you again." Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu strode away, their aura no different from two CEOs stepping out of a book. But before they disappeared from sight, Tae King Gwyn suddenly called out, "By the way, the next Deep Abyss is 4 days from now, right?" Thuong Din put his hands in his pockets, smiling confidently. "Not really." Then he paused. A sense of unease flashed by as if something was amiss. He turned back to look. Tae King Gwyn slowly adjusted his glasses, his eyes flashing with an unpredictable danger. Then he smiled a chilling, calm smile, speaking ambiguously, "I hope to see you again 5 days from now." After saying that, he turned and left, leaving a heavy atmosphere behind. The next morning, under a clear sky with fluffy white clouds, Thuong Din and Lin Trin Viu strolled leisurely through the empty streets, where the skyscrapers stood tall, still haunted by Tae King Gwyn's intimidation. Thuong Din muttered, "Tae King Gwyn is indeed a monster." Lin Trin Viu curiously asked, "Thuong Din, do you think he's like you?" The question made Thuong Din hesitate, his mind filled with ellipses. "Like me." Suddenly a light bulb went off in him. "That's right. I can't prove that I'm the only existence in this world. What if the prophet is not the only one?" Seeing Thuong Din standing frozen, Lin Trin Viu patted his shoulder to bring him back to reality. "Come on. Stop thinking, just focus on what to do next. Tae King Gwyn is definitely aiming for the next Thuong Gwyn. What should we do?" Thuong Din clenched his fists, his eyes blazing. "The next Thuong Gwyn will definitely be ours. If I'm not a special existence, then I can only continue to grow stronger, strong enough to face everything." In front of them was a cordoned-off area, a long forbidden barrier, and heavy guarding forces throughout the city. From above, the area looked desolate with only one person. Lin Trin Viu, wearing specialized glasses, observing the situation and sighing 3 parts helplessness, 7 parts frustration. Thuong Din seemed to have lost hope. Hearing this, Thuong Din's face fell like a dragonfly caught in the rain, wanting to cry but unable to make a sound. But deep down both still burned with will like the vast ocean. Suddenly a knock on the door rang out, accompanied by a crisp voice. "Little brother, open the door, it's me." Hearing their words, "little brother," Lin Trin Viu grimaced like a monkey eating chili, while Thuong Din, although they hadn't met in a while, immediately recognized that voice belonged to her. Lin Trin Viu had been given a memorable lesson by Hoa Hung, so seeing him again was startling. How did that woman find us? What should Thuong Din do now? Outside, Hoa Hung was banging on the door loudly, her voice full of irritation. "You too. My patience has run out. Eve waited through all my youth and still haven't seen a ghost come to open the door." Unable to sit still any longer, she gathered her strength, reached through the door and confidently stepped in. But Hoa Hung was not alone. With her were Tin Tin Du Tu and Mat Hone. Time flew by quickly. Now there was a chance to reunite. Tin Tin Du Tu waved hello cheerfully, saying, "You little brats, long time no see." Both stood frozen, their faces like a spilled pot of noodles, the atmosphere tense like a guitar string. Tin Tin Du Tu hadn't even had a chance to do anything before Hoa Hung pushed him aside. "Get out of the way, you're being kicked out," he muttered in frustration. "That damn woman, you." But Hoa Hung, as always, wore a friendly beauty queen smile, turning to the two. "Don't worry. I'm here today just to discuss a deal with you all." Thuong Din was still confused, frowning and asking, "A deal?" Without giving him a chance to understand, Tien Yet introduced herself proudly. "Tien Yet and Tin Tin Du Tu. I'm sure you all know them already. Let me introduce myself. I am Mat Hone, the captain of Team 12. Hearing that outrageous name, Lin Trin Viu burst out laughing. Tin Tin Du Tu took the opportunity to tease Captain Mat Hone. "I've told you long ago to change your name. A kid is laughing at you." Mat Hone is still confident in her aesthetic taste, shyly replying, "I think it's quite nice." Only Thuong Din maintained his cold CO expression from start to finish, secretly thinking Mat Hone is not mentioned in the novel. Isn't it true that a major character is not enough to stir up any waves? Seeing the conversation seemed off topic, Mat Hone quickly got to the point. "So let's talk business now, business. Today, the Tam Yuen building will make its appearance. I'm sure you all know that." He began analyzing the extremely strict control over the Tam Yuen building's appearance. "You guys chose this stronghold, so you must be well aware of the current situation." He only heard that Thuong Din understood the implication and interrupted. "So you want to entrust us to take the Tam Yuen building for you?" Mat Hone nodded in confirmation without hesitation. "Absolutely correct," but Thuong Din, with his cautious nature like an old man, immediately refused. "I decline." Seeing him so straightforward, the group of Tien Yet quickly interjected. "You haven't heard the conditions I proposed." Thuong Din remained unyielding, his voice solid as a rock. "No need. You all know that the Tam Yuen building has been completely controlled. In terms of both manpower and combat capability, with just the 5 of us, we have no chance. Moreover, if we succeed, what will we have to face afterward? It's facing the entire 6th district, even being hunted." He paused for a moment, his sharp gaze analyzing further. "Not just the 6th district, we will become enemies of the entire nation. With such a high price to pay, I don't know what conditions you can offer to convince me." Thuong Din's sharp and farsighted words left Mat Hone momentarily stunned. He chuckled lightly. "Kid, you are truly beyond my imagination. No wonder you are the one Tien Yet chose. Your analysis is very correct. The price of confronting the entire country, indeed, requires enormous conditions." At that moment, Thuong Din, with a big head, pulled out a crude bag, speaking triumphantly, "You little brat, I don't know if this is enough or not." Inside the bag were 2 sparkling stones, rare to the point of being hard to believe. Lin Trin Vu's eyes widened, the light from his eyes like car headlights. Isn't this Yuyan's stone? But Thuong Din, in contrast to his friend's excitement, kept his face icy. MANHUA took the opportunity to flex the left stone, which is a type of body enhancement different from our abilities and cannot be absorbed. As for the second stone, he paused, tossing out a sentence that stunned both. Its owner has had contact with you. Although Trin Vu was still confused, not clear on who the opponent was, Thuong Din quickly guessed it was the sniper. MANHUA, after receiving the confirmed answer, nodded with satisfaction. That's right, it seems you guys have put in worthy effort, not wasted at all. Although defeating that guy took some effort, the final result was still satisfying. These two Yuyan stones must be said to be perfectly compatible with both of us. MANHUA confidently showed off her items and then spoke excitedly. So can we discuss our transaction now? Before making a decision, Trin Vu pulled Thuong Din to a corner and whispered, Thuong Din, what do you think of these two Yuyan stones? Could it be that after the capable person is hunted down, the energy obtained will turn into the Yuyan stone? With his extensive experience, Thuong Din calmly explained to his naive friend, not everyone is like that, only a few energies can transform into Yuyan stone. Looking at the two sparkling stones like treasures, Trin Vu's eyes shone brightly like a star lantern. Thuong Din pondered, opportunities and dangers always go hand in hand. Should we? With the ambiguous attitude of his friend, Thuong Din frowned and snapped, are you complaining that you've lived too long? Be careful, you may have a life to take but not one to use. No matter what others said, Thuong Din only replied firmly, sorry, I still choose to refuse. Hearing this, MANHUA showed a look of regret. Kid, you really are not flexible at all. Two pieces of Yuyan stone are laid out there and you are not tempted. Tin Tin, the big-headed one beside him, was so surprised that her eyes widened. Hey, are you guys serious? Is that really 0 points? Seeing that they couldn't convince Thuong Din, they reluctantly put the two Yuyan stones back into the bag. But the more surprising thing was that they didn't keep it for themselves, but declared they were giving it away. If you guys have nothing, I want force the sharp-shooting Yuyan stone on you. Consider it a gift for our meeting. Tin Tin, the big-headed one, was stunned by MANHUA's generosity, immediately turning to scold. Captain, I've been patient with you for too long. MANHUA, already annoyed by the meddlesome nature of that guy, glared, as if wanting to send him to hell. Tin Tin, the big-headed one, immediately fell silent, not daring to say a word. After the transaction ended, all three left immediately, leaving a message, hoping for a chance to collaborate next time. Thuong Din watched their figures gradually fade away. Long still maintained a solid defensive wall. But once the three were outside, Tin Tin, the big-headed one, was still shocked by MANHUA's generosity, unable to help but ask, Captain, honestly, I really don't understand sometimes. This is Yuyan stone and you just gave it away. But MANHUA shifted to another topic with a relaxed tone. What do you think about the relationship between those two? Or what kind of relationship do you think they have? Suddenly asked a casual question Tin. Tin, the big-headed one, was dumbfounded, not knowing how to respond. MANHUA provided another hint. Are they friends, teammates, or like us, a captain and a member? Tin Tin, the big-headed one, was at a loss for words, stammering. Captain, what exactly do you mean? Not receiving the desired answer, MANHUA playfully scolded. Duck brain, if you had half a genius brain you would understand. I agree to give up a day without drinking and you will figure it out quickly. Seeing the captain getting more and more vague, Tin Tin, the big-headed one, irritably turned to Hua Hong and pressed, Damn girl, what exactly does the captain mean? But she only responded with a big blank stare, making him furious. Ting Ting, the big-headed one, like a volcano erupting, yelled, Then why don't you just say what they have? Not only him, Trin Vu was also filled with questions, turning to ask Thuong Din. Thuong Din, what do you think? What do they really mean? Thuong Din, they are giving us such a rare Yuyan stone. But given your naivety, Thuong Din carefully explained, That is the conspiracy. We must accept it without hesitation. For you, possessing a Wyanthak with such attributes is extremely difficult. Seizing the opportunity to absorb it without waiting for Thuong Din to say more, Trin Viu immediately absorbed the Wyanthak right away. Indeed, it was a quality item. Soon, a magical seal appeared in his eyes, bursting into a brilliant light so powerful that it illuminated the entire room. From the outside, the light was dazzling like the midday sun, before gradually fading, leaving behind a lingering echo of extraordinary strength. After experiencing the new peak ability, Trin Viu was so excited that he couldn't contain himself, his eyes shining brightly. Thuong Din, we hit the jackpot. My Eagle Eye ability used to have a range of 2,000 meters. Now it has skyrocketed to 3,000 meters. Moreover, I have unlocked an additional new ability. His face at this moment was radiant as if he had just won the lottery. He excitedly explained, after the Eagle Eye evolved, I gained an additional target locking skill. As long as it's within 500 meters, no matter where the enemy hides, I can see clearly as if it were daytime. According to the skill description, this ability is even unaffected by any obstacles. Trin Viu was becoming more and more confident, his tone powerful. Combined with my weapon 100 visibility within range. Thuong Din, I am invincible. But in the meantime, Thuong Din stood still, his gaze incredulous. Is the second ability that powerful? Trin Viu at this moment began to regret, sighing. If I had known this, I would have accepted their offer. If you also had a Wyanthak like that, perhaps you could also unlock another powerful skill. Thuong Din smirked, his eyes sparkling with a secret known only to him. Me, however, there is a mind-blowing thing I haven't told you. I am an arrogant soul capable of absorbing all types of Wyanthak. I didn't tell you to avoid discouraging you. After hearing this, Trin Viu was stunned and turned to look far out the window, his voice dropping. The 12-star troops will definitely not let the Deep Yuan go right. Should we remind Tae Kien Nguyen? Thuong Din shook his head, his tone calm. Do you think a monster like Tae Kien Nguyen needs us to remind him? Hearing that name, Trin Viu couldn't help but shudder, getting goosebumps. That's true, facing such a monster, the 12-star troops probably wouldn't gain anything. Thuong Din fell into deep thought, his gaze profound. The fifth Deep Yuan appeared unusually prolonged, as if wanting humanity to get used to this power. Trin Viu nodded but still felt uneasy. So what should we do next? With a sharp mind, Thuong Din replied immediately. When the fifth Deep Yuan appears, we must have enough strength to seize it. Otherwise, we will be left further behind. However, a difficult problem made Trin Viu sigh, his voice weary. How are we supposed to recruit members for our team? Thuong Din frowned slightly, starting to consider potential faces for their team. It seems that recruiting Tae Kien Nguyen is now nearly impossible. As for Tien Huyet, Let It Go Mach 2 seems to be a promising choice, but the forces behind him are too powerful. And he's also burdened by the nation, so it might not be practical. Each option was dismissed by him one by one like chickens trapped in a coop in this novel. So who can quickly recruit him? Think carefully, really carefully. Suddenly, Thuong Din was startled, as if a light had just flashed in his head. He immediately became excited, his eyes shining as if he had just found a treasure. Why did we forget about this person? Seeing his intense reaction, Trin Viu couldn't help but frown, confused, and asked, Thuong Din, are you sick? At this moment, Thuong Din smiled brightly as if he had just won the lottery. That's right, I am sick and I forgot about this important thing. In the book, this person was only briefly mentioned once, so faintly that there wasn't even a name, but his abilities were astonishingly powerful, strong enough that the future inheritor of these abilities would become an entire elite team. Thuong Din began to rummage through his memory, trying to piece together each fragment. The inheritor of those abilities once mentioned that he was in Area 6 or City F. He had also heard vaguely about a center for disabled children named HOP in City F. If we can find him and convince him to join, it will definitely be a formidable strategy for the group. But right now he still wasn't sure if the guy had awakened his abilities or not. Thuong Din muttered to himself like a lost soul. Trin Viu became confused and didn't understand anything. Never mind, let's find him and figure it out later. After struggling with a multitude of thoughts, Thuong Din did not hesitate to pull Trin Viu along. We are going to this place.